When all of humanity got isekai'd into ice raft survival, I woke up with 20 girls and 3 of them were pregnant. I am the only man on this raft. My name is Han Ji-woo, a young doctor who was on call the night the world ended. The frozen sea handed soldiers, builders, fishermen, weapons, heaters, food crates, and wide raft platforms to the strong, while to me it handed 20 women from my hospital, 3 unborn children riding inside 3 pregnant patients, and 1 tired young doctor who had not slept in 2 shifts. Whitegrave Chat called us the weakest clinic group before anyone even bothered to learn our names. My system called them protected lives. The first time my combat trade protocol woke up, I finally understood why a doctor could survive in a world ruled by monsters and armed men. A doctor knows exactly where a body breaks. The ice under my cheek wakes me before the cold does. My breath is white. The crack in the deck of the raft runs a hand's width from my left boot, splits twice, and ends near the wool blanket where Kang Soyeon is shivering with her arms around her belly. Salt water sloshes over the lip of the platform every few seconds. The wind off the open sea has weight, like a wet hand pressing on my shoulders. Somewhere very far, a horn sounds across the water. Closer in, a woman is praying under her breath. Right next to me, somebody is crying, not loud, just steady, the kind of crying a person does when they have been doing it for hours and forgot they were doing it. I sit up slow because fast movement on cracked ice is how a person becomes a corpse. The raft is about 12 steps long and 8 wide, lashed together from broken hospital decking, a section of nurse station counter, 4 foam mattresses, and 1 chunk of ceiling tile still smelling like the disinfectant we used last night, which feels impossible because last night I was on call. Now there is no hospital. There is no city. Nothing called the mainland that I can see. Only ice and gray sea and other rafts in the distance like dirty paper boats. 20 women are spread across my raft in clusters of 2 and 3. I count them by reflex. Sleeping bodies, breathing bodies, shivering bodies. 1 woman holding her wrist like she sprained it on the way down. The only man on this platform is me. I am Han Ji-woo. I am 27. I have been a licensed doctor for less than 2 years. I am the youngest person standing right now, and somehow I am the one everyone is going to look at when they open their eyes. My fingers do not want to stop shaking. I clench them and they stop, the way I taught them to in residency. The first system message floats into my head as plain words. Not a UI panel, no screen, just a quiet line as if a calm older doctor is reading from a chart over my shoulder. Living crew assessment complete. 1 trained physician detected. 20 civilian women detected. 3 unborn lives detected. Protected lives parameter triggered. Medical Hoard arc route unlocked. Future life blessing route opened. I read it twice. My pulse does the thing it does when a code blue is called in the next room. I crawl to Soyeon first, because pregnant women in the cold lose body heat through more surfaces than the rest of us. Her wrist is cool. Her pulse is too slow and too thin. The skin around her mouth has gone a tight gray. She tries to smile when she sees me, and her teeth click against each other. "Doctor," she says, soft, like she's apologizing for being trouble. "Do not call me that on this raft," I tell her. "Call me Ji-woo." Then I do call her Soyeon, and I lift her chin gently and turn her toward the cleanest mattress, and I tell the nearest woman, who turns out to be Yu Minso, that we are moving Soyeon to the dry corner now. Senior nurse Minso has tied her black hair back with a torn strip of her own coat. The coat itself is wrecked, 1 sleeve burned, the buttons all gone, and her nurse scrubs underneath are stained at the knees from kneeling on something I do not want to know about. She does not waste a second on her own appearance. She slides under Soyeon's arm before I even finish my sentence, takes the woman's weight off my shoulder and walks her to the corner like she has done this 1,000 times. "Bring the blanket," she calls back to a woman I have not met. "Do not panic. Walk, do not run. The ice is thin." The second pregnant patient is Baek Yuna. Yuna has the kind of sharp eyes that already know what I am going to ask. Her jaw is bruised. She does not want me to look at it. I do not look at it. I touch the back of her hand for warmth and circulation only, and I ask, "Are you bleeding anywhere I cannot see?" She says, "Not since yesterday." Her voice is steady. She is lying about the pain in her side, but the lie is the kind a person uses to stay upright in front of strangers, so I let her keep it for now, and I tell her where to sit. She sits. Han Jisoo is the third. She is smaller than the other 2, and gentler, the kind of gentle that has been ground down into apology. She thanks me when I touch her wrist. She thanks me again when I move her closer to the corner. I do not know if she is thanking me or thanking the world for not killing her yet, but I make a note of it in my head, because patients who apologize for existing are the patients who die quietly while you are busy with the loud ones. "Sit," I tell her simply. "Rest." She rests. Her hand goes to her belly. It does not leave. Choi Hain is awake against the broken nurse station counter. Glasses fogged, white coat torn at the hem, her hair flat from sea spray. She is already pulling small bottles from a half-crushed med kit and lining them up in order, the way she always does in the pharmacy, even when nothing else makes sense. "Aspirin is good," she tells me without looking up. 2 of the antibiotic vials are cracked. "Throw them. The cold pack is useless. We are surrounded by cold." I nod. "Save what you can," I tell her. She has already started. CO Aaron is on her feet. athletic short hair plastered to her forehead, the torn shoulder of her security trainee uniform showing a long red scrape, and she has somehow already lashed a broken IV pole into a makeshift hook. She watches the edge of the raft like a guard dog. "Doctor," she says. Then she catches herself and she shifts to Jiwoo. "There is something under the ice on the south side. It is not big, it is not small either." I say, "Do not stand directly over it." She does not. Erin is the kind of woman who hears instruction once. Lee Bora is sitting cross-legged with her hand pressed to the side of her head, fingertips pinched together as if she is holding an earpiece that is not there. An old habit from too many shifts in dispatch. Her eyes flick around in the focused way of a person listening to 4 conversations at once. Whitegrave chat is live, she tells me, although she has no headset and no terminal, only the same quiet voice in her head that I have. Group ranking is being posted. We are getting tagged. The names are not nice. Park Nari has not stopped staring at her own hands. She is a third-year medical student. Her oversized hospital coat is wet at the back. She is younger than every woman here except the patients. She wants to be useful. She does not know how yet. I move past her, brush her shoulder lightly so she remembers her body, and I say, "Nari, listen. You are with Hain. Count vials. Read labels. Pass me anything that says expired." She blinks twice, nods 3 times, and goes. Mrs. O. The hospital cook is the only person on this raft who does not look afraid. She is short, wrapped in 2 layers of kitchen apron over a winter sweater, and she has somehow saved a small steel pot and a wooden spoon. She holds them the way another woman might hold a child. "I will boil water if we find clean water," she tells me. I tell her good, and I tell her she is in charge of any food that comes onto this raft. Whitegrave chat opens fully in my head then, a flood of voices that are not voices, scrolling like an old triage board on a busy night. Stronger groups are already boasting. Some military raft is posting weapon counts. The construction crew shouting next is posting raft beams. A fishing crew is posting nets and a generator. Restaurant staff are posting food crates. Up next, a university class is posting a working heater. From another channel, a wealthy family is posting a heated cabin. Down the list, prison transport is posting prisoners in chains. Some office team is posting laptops, which they will regret. Way at the bottom, a gang raft is posting weapons in a way that wants to be seen. Numbers and names slide past me like surgical instruments on a tray. None of them are mine. Then our status posts itself, automatic, without my permission. Group 27. 1 adult male, profession physician. 20 adult females. All hospital staff or patients. 3. Pregnant. Combat score lowest in the region. Burden score highest in the region. Combat rank last. Medical contribution, untested. The chat does what chats do. Nicknames begin within seconds. Dr. Harem Raft, Pregnant Burden Raft. Weakest clinic group, Soft Hands Raft, Walking medicine box. Each name lands in my head with the soft thud of a tongue depressor hitting a metal tray. Captain Ryu Dohan posts publicly 30 seconds later. I do not need to look to know his face. Men like him hold the same posture in every hospital lobby. Big shoulders, military jacket, boys trained to fill a room without asking. His message is simple enough that the whole sea reads it at once. Dr. 27, your raft cannot carry pregnant women in a region this cold. Abandon them now. Transfer your senior nurse to my protection. I will accept the remaining women as auxiliary crew. Refuse, and I will not be responsible for what happens to your raft when the storm hits. The chat ripples with laughs. 3 luxury rafts up the response. A polite man named Dr. Victor Hale, whom I do not yet know, watches without typing. Some woman whose handle reads as a rich heir's pet name boosts Ryu's post. Bora's eyes flick up at me, then back to the air. She is already mapping it. I do not answer Ryu, not yet. I learned a long time ago that men who broadcast threats want to reply more than they want compliance. I turn back to my raft. I check Soyeon again. Her pulse has come up, slow but real, since Minseo wrapped her in the warm side of the wool. I check Yuna's hand. Warmer. Jisu's breathing. Steadier. The first 6 minutes of any code are the only minutes that matter. Whatever happens after that is how you find out what kind of doctor you actually are. My sister died on a winter night when I was 16. The blackout had been long. Help had been slow. Her hand was cold in mine when the ambulance finally came, and the medic looked at me and did not say anything, because at that point there was nothing left to say. I held her hand for an hour after that, because I had read in a book that some warmth carries across after, and I was a child and books had not lied to me yet. The cold of her fingers is the temperature my body still treats as the moment I stopped being a normal person. I pushed the memory back into its drawer and shut it. There is no time for it. Never will be. Minso has finished tucking Soyeon in. She moves to me without being asked, and she does not look at the chat scroll in her own head, and she says, quietly, the south side has thin ice and the wind is picking up. We should not stand near the crack. Also, doctor, you have not eaten. I tell her not to call me doctor anymore. She tells me, old habit, and she does it with the corner of her mouth lifting, just slightly, the way a nurse smiles when she has decided you are going to live. The system speaks again. Costed scan available. Stamina cost moderate. Continue. I close my eyes. The scan opens like a window I cannot quite see through. Underneath the raft, the water below the ice, the long dark space where currents move, something heavy and cold, rests 40 paces to my left, frozen partway through the flow, the corner of a metal container caught in old ice. Supply crate, hospital labeling on the side. The scan ends. My nose runs. I touch it. Blood. My knees lose their lock. I drop one hand to the deck, and Minso's palm is suddenly under my elbow, steady, warm through her sleeve. Sit, she tells me, not asking. I sit. Her hand stays for 2 seconds longer than it needs to, and then leaves. Aaron, I call. South side, 40 paces. Buried crate. Take Nari with you. Bring a rope. Do not stand directly over the dark patch. Aaron nods once and is already moving. Nari follows her at a half jog, hair bouncing under her oversized coat. Bora drops down beside me with her cross-legged focus and reports without preamble. 8 rafts are talking about us. 2 are mocking. One is making a bet on how long we last. Another is asking if you are single, which she says without smiling. 2 small rafts are listening, not talking, which means they are interested. Captain Ryu is moving. The military raft has changed heading. He is coming closer. I tell Bora to watch only Ryu and the 2 small rafts. Ignore the rest. She nods. Hain is already at the medicine pile, ranking vials by usefulness, telling Nari from across the raft what to look for in the supply crate. Saline, she calls. Sterile gauze. Anything sealed. Whatever is labeled glucose or iron. Antibiotics with intact seals. Heat patches if there are any. Mrs. O has filled her little steel pot with snow she scraped from the cleaner half of the raft and is testing whether it will melt clean. The ice cracks under Aaron's boot exactly where the system showed me, and she throws her weight back the way a trained person does, and the crack runs but holds. Nari kneels behind her with the rope. Aaron chips with the IV pole hook, fast and shallow. 2 minutes of work and the corner of a black plastic box rises out of the flow like a tooth being pulled. Another minute or so and they have it on the deck. I open it on my knees with the small knife Hain presses into my hand. Inside, 2 folded blankets, both gray wool, one with a brown stain we will not investigate. 3 nutrient packs, dense paste, 800 calories each by the label, sealed. Beneath those, a heat stone cracked down the middle but still glowing faintly along one face. Tucked alongside a fishing hook of the heavy kind. Beside it, a pouch of alcohol wipes. Last out of the box, one small knife, the kind a person uses to open packages, sharper than it looks. I exhale. I have seen worse opening kits in residency. I have seen worse kits at hospitals, frankly. I give the warmest corner to the 3 pregnant women without asking permission from anyone. Soyeon goes against the back wall where the wind wall hits least. Yuna goes next to her. Jisoo goes on the inside because she will not push for space. I put the unbroken half of the heat stone behind them. I put one of the wool blankets over Seon and Yuna together, and the other over Jisoo. The remaining women I divide into watch shifts in my head, and I tell Minseo and Aaron, who repeat the assignments out loud the way nurses repeat orders at handoff. Whitegrave Chat sees the corner assignment within 30 seconds, because someone on a nearby raft has line of sight, and the mockery spikes. Dr. Harem Raft warms his harem first. Soft Hands Raft picks favorites. Pregnant Burden Raft gets the only blanket. Some of it is genuinely funny, in the way that mean things are funny if you are not the one being laughed at. I do not explain myself. A doctor explaining his triage to a chat is a doctor who has already lost the room. The system messages return then, calm as always. Protected lives shelter confirmed. Civilian medical priority confirmed. Raft expansion granted, 2 paces by 2 paces. Structural. Wind wall granted along northern edge, half height. Medical storage box unlocked, 1 cubic length sealed. For medical contribution rank, position 1 in the region. Combat rank, position last in the region. I do not feel triumphant about the medical rank. The combat rank tells the truth. We are still last. We are still the Soft Hands Raft, the walking medicine box, the pregnant burden raft. The expansion creaks out of the deck, 2 new boards rising like a healed bone, and the wind wall lifts along the north edge in a translucent gray panel that bends the worst of the wind without blocking the view. Inside the new section, the medical storage box settles with the soft thunk of something the world has decided is mine. Mrs. O has clean water in her pot now. She drops in 2 of the nutrient pastes, breaks them with her wooden spoon, and looks up at me for permission. Feed the corner first, I tell her. 3 small bowls. Then Hain and Nari. After that, the rest by watch rotation. I will eat last. She does not argue. Minso gives me one look that says, "You will not eat last forever," and goes to help carry bowls. While the paste melts, I do the second thing I always do at the start of any code, which is count my staff. Mincio first, because she will run the corner if I die in the next hour. Aaron third, because she will keep the door if Hain dies. Bora fourth, because she will keep the chat alive even if the rest of us go silent, which means our network keeps breathing. Nari fifth, because she is being made into a doctor in front of my eyes whether she likes it or not. Mrs. 06, because she is the only one who can decide who eats next without anyone arguing. The pregnant women are not staff. they are mission. I do not ever, even in my own head, mix the two columns. I crouch next to Hyene at the medicine shelf because I want to know what we actually have. She lays it out for me without flourish. 8 intact antibiotic vials, narrow spectrum, mostly useful for soft tissue infection. 2 intact insulin pens, which she sets to the side because nobody on this raft has the matching condition yet. But if a passenger from a refugee raft ends up here with it later, we will have looked clever instead of lucky. 4 sterile gauze rolls. 6 pairs of disposable gloves. 3 left, 3 right, none matching. Because in a hospital basket, you take what you can get. 1 bottle of iodine solution, 2/3 full. The small sealed jar of paracetamol she somehow saved from the pharmacy counter when the shelf collapsed. 1 sealed bottle of saline. A small bag of sterile sutures, threaded already, of 3 different gauges. 2 scalpel handles. 3 replacement blades. 1 thermometer, glass, miraculously unbroken. She says, miraculously, very quietly, the way a pharmacist says it. I nod. I tell her, this is more than I dared hope for. She says, this is less than we need. We both know we are both correct. The shelf gets a small sliding wood panel that the system adds without asking, because it has begun to learn how Hyene arranges things. Hyene notices the panel appear. She does not smile. She closes the panel over the medicine, then opens it, then closes it again. The closing is the smile. Bora has been quietly tagging the rafts in chat by category. Soldier rafts, builder rafts, fisher rafts, restaurant rafts, school rafts, wealth rafts, prisoner rafts, office rafts, gang rafts, faith rafts, hospital rafts. Each tag is just a color in her head, but she draws the color wheel on her palm while she works. It is a habit from years of dispatch. Triage by color, decide by color, listen by color. The chat does not know she is doing this. Whitegrave will know later. By then it will be too late. Park Nari sits very still with Hyene and watches the medicine count. She has stopped staring at her hands, which is the first step. She is biting the inside of her cheek, which is the second step. She is also breathing in a 4-count rhythm, which I taught a class of students last spring and did not expect any of them to remember, which is the third step. I crouch beside her for a moment. I tell her, when the next medical thing happens, I want you next to me, not against the storage box. She blinks twice. She nods. The biting stops. Her breathing settles. A 4th step is the one she will take when she actually moves. CO Aaron returns from the south edge with a frozen length of broken pipe she pried out of the ice. She holds it the way a person holds a tool that has just become a weapon. I tell her, that is a good club, but I want a real spear before nightfall. She says, working on it. She has already pulled a long thin shard of metal from the broken nurse station counter and is shaping it on the corner of the heat stone with a small piece of grit she found on the deck. She is doing things that should take 3 days and 3 hours, because she is 23 years old, in a torn uniform, on a cracked raft, with 20 women she is silently deciding she will die for. And her hands have finally stopped being trainees' hands. The first system message about the corner arrangement returns to me as the food is being passed. Protected lives shelter holding. Civilian medical priority holding. Stamina drain reduced for occupants of pregnancy rest corner. Mother side metabolic loss decreasing. The numbers are not flashy. Those small figures are the reason a child will be born alive in this region. Out in the open, the chat does not see those numbers. Nobody else's system shows them. I am beginning to think mine is not a normal system. Mrs. O delivers a small bowl to each of the 3 pregnant women. Soyeon takes hers with both hands. She drinks slowly. Yuna refuses, of course. Mrs. O sets the bowl down beside her without comment. Jisoo takes hers, holds it, looks at me and waits for permission. Drink, I tell her. She drinks. The first swallow makes her cough. Her second swallow does not. By the third swallow, her shoulders have dropped half an inch, which on a woman who has been holding her own shoulders up for months is in clinical terms a transformation. The other 17 women on the raft get their bowls in watch rotation. I learn names as the bowls move. Choi Sora, an X-ray tech with a deep scrape down the side of her arm. Hyene cleans during her meal. Lim Yejin, a hospital social worker with a bruise on her cheekbone she got from a falling shelf. Han Gyul, the cardiology unit's evening clerk, eyes red from crying earlier, holding a notebook full of patient room numbers she will never deliver again. Jang Hyemi, a maternity ward nurse who keeps drifting toward Minseo as if she is gravity. 2 more nurses, a physical therapist, a janitor, and 3 administrative women who introduce themselves all in one sentence, because nobody has time for the long version. The X-ray tech is the one who tells me which faces I should remember if anything happens to me before morning. I memorize them. The kindness of being told which patient is your patient when you are about to lose consciousness is the kind of kindness a person never forgets. I eat last, as I said I would. My bowl is smaller than the others. Minso notices but does not say anything in front of the rest. She does, however, ladle a second half spoon into my bowl while Mrs. O is looking elsewhere. I let her. The warm fish broth and nutrient paste hits the bottom of my stomach like a small clean fire. I had not realized how empty I was. The system tells me my stamina has come back up by a margin worth noting. Stamina cost of next scan reduced. Recovery applied. I file the math and move on. Captain Ryu's military raft drifts into view at about 200 paces and slows. The thing is bigger than ours by a factor I do not want to do the math on. Soldiers in matching coats lean on the rails. 4 of them, with 2 more visible at the stern. There is a heat core mounted near the cabin, leaking a faint shimmer of warm air I can see from here. Also, when I look at the cabin door, a panel is hanging open where it should be sealed. The wind catches the panel and slaps it shut. Gust after gust catches it again. The system gives me the scan I did not ask for, light this time, almost free, because the conditions are obvious enough that even a normal doctor would see most of it from a glance. Food stores moderate, declining. Crew loyalty unstable. 3 figures on the left rail standing with their weight off Ryu's side. Heat core damaged at the rear seal, leaking warm gas, attracting cold-blooded predators in the water below. Frost shark, large, following the heat plume and a smear of blood in the water from something Ryu's raft killed and dumped earlier. The shark is 220 paces out and closing the wrong way for them and the right way for me. Ryu calls across the water through a hand cone. His voice is the kind of voice a man practices in a mirror. Dr. 27, he says, I will say this once. Send the senior nurse over on a tether, and the 3 pregnant women into the cold. You and the rest of your women may follow my raft for protection until landfall. Refuse, and I sink you before the storm does. I do not raise my voice back. I open chat. I type, as a reply public to the whole region, the way a chart note goes into a record. Captain Ryu Dohan, your rear heat core seal is broken. You are leaking warm gas into the water. Your blood dump from earlier has drawn a frost shark. The shark is currently below your raft. I would suggest sealing the panel before negotiating. The chat goes still for a half second. Then it explodes. Bora's eyes go wide and her mouth does not quite smile, but the muscle around it twitches. Minseo's hand on the bowl she is carrying tightens. Ryu does what men like Ryu always do when caught in a small embarrassment in public. He gets bigger. He grabs a spear, the heavy kind, balances it once for show, and hurls it toward our raft. It is a warning throw. The spear is meant to plant near the edge and rattle us. It plants near the edge. It does rattle. The other thing the throw does, which is the thing Ryu does not think about because Ryu is a captain and not a doctor, is shake water, send sound through the flow, and broadcast vibration straight down to the cold thing under his own deck. Then the frost shark surfaces in the gap between the military raft and ours. Its head is gray, matte, and as wide as a man. Jaws hinge the way a deep-sea jaw hinges, teeth canted inward. It does not look at us. It looks at the leaking heat and the blood. It strikes the rear of the military raft once, hard. The deck jumps. A soldier falls. Ryu screams an order I cannot make out over the wind. The panel that should have been sealed slaps shut, open, and shut again. Below the deck, the shark hits again. I tell Aaron to lash the hook to a length of rope. Now, Mrs. O, heap the stove low. Bora, watch the shark and tell me when it dives. Hain, prep the alcohol wipes and 1 nutrient pack as bait grease. Nari, stay with the patients. Minseo, my left, with a small knife. Everyone moves. Soyeon makes a small sound. Her hand has come off her belly and lifted in front of her like she has heard something. She looks at me, and her eyes are wide in a way I have not seen in a patient before. There is, she says, something moving away. Fish, a school of fish. They are going west to escape the shark. Her voice trembles. She does not understand what she is saying. The system speaks under my skull at the same time. Talent awakened. Kang Soyeon. Life pulse sense. Range short. Detects moving life under ice and water. Sensitive to unborn life. Also keyed to predator pressure on prey. West. Soyeon, I say gently. How far? She closes her eyes. 20 paces, she whispers. Maybe less. They are very close to the surface. They are scared. I tell Aaron, west edge, 20 paces, drop the hook. I will not explain how I know. Aaron does not ask. She is already at the edge, hook in the water, rope braced under her boot. The shark hits Ryu's raft a 3rd time and tears a section of the rear platform off entirely. A soldier goes into the water. He screams. He does not come back up. Ryu's crew is shouting at each other in 3 directions. The 4 men on the left rail, the ones the scan called unstable, drift toward the cabin instead of toward Ryu. For a moment, the captain is alone in the center of his own deck. Aaron pulls a fish up out of the water on her first try. It is gray, long, longer than my forearm, and slick. The hook took it through the gill. She swings it onto the deck. Mrs. O is already there with the small knife. Mrs. O has the pot. Hain calls oil first, organs second. Bones into the dry pile. I learned 3 things in the next 10 minutes about how this team works under monster pressure. First, Mrs. O does not panic. Her hands move with the steady speed of a woman who has gutted thousands of fish in hospital cafeterias and who has decided somewhere in her quiet head that a frost shark below a stranger's raft is no excuse to ruin a good piece of fish. Second, Minseo's knife work is cleaner than mine. She removes the gills, opens the belly, scrapes the organs out into a separate bowl Hain has produced from nowhere, and slices the meat into strips along the spine in the time it takes me to peel one. She catches me watching and does not slow down. I do, she says, without looking up. A lot of childbirth and a lot of post-op. Same kind of careful. Third, Erin reads the ice. She announces every 30 seconds or so where the next safe stand is, where the wind is shifting, where Ryu's raft has moved by one pace, and where the dark patch the shark is feeding in has spread. The crew on Ryu's raft is shouting at each other in a way that makes me think they used to be a unit, and have just remembered they are not anymore. Soyeon in the corner calls again. West, she says, more confident now. 3 more, very close. She does not open her eyes. Her hand is on her belly. The talent has tied her body to the school of fish in some way I do not pretend to understand. And the school is moving the way her own pulse is moving, and the data is traveling through her without her needing to translate it. Erin moves to where Soyeon points. The hook drops. It comes up loaded. 3 more fish on the deck in under 2 minutes. Bora, from her cross-legged spot, says, "Doctor, that is impossible." I tell her, "Write down impossible on your palm and we will define it later." She writes a small dot on her palm and circles it. Future entry. Bora reports without me asking. Shark is feeding on the soldier and the heat plume. Ryu is shouting. 3 of his crew are not listening. He has not looked at us in 2 minutes. I know. Hein has rendered a small handful of fish oil over the heat stone by the time we have the 8th fish. She drops a strip of gray-green seaweed from the gut of one of them into the oil and stirs once. Old recipe from my grandmother, she says, more to herself than to me. Mild burn ointment, frostbite base, better than nothing. Mrs. O is making fish soup out of the cleaner pieces in a second pot which I do not remember her producing. The smell hits the raft, hot and salty, and a small communal exhale goes around the women. Even Yuna leans toward it without meaning to. Yuna refuses the first bowl. Give it to Jisoo, she says, sharp, in a tone that does not allow argument. Mrs. O looks at me. I nod. Jisoo takes the bowl and starts to cry, soundless, the tears running down without changing her face. She drinks. Her hand stays on her belly. I make a note. Jisoo is not weak. She has been told she is weak for a long time. There is a difference. The system rolls upgrades into the new storage box as we work. Small furnace bowl unlocks. A curved metal dish that we set the cracked heat stone into, doubling the radiant warmth. Fish drying rack unlocks against the wind wall. A low frame of wood that lets strips of meat hang for the wind to cure. Pregnancy rest corner unlocks formally, with a low wall around the 3 women that softens the spray. Medicine shelf unlocks above Heiin's spot, narrow, with raised lips so vials do not slide. Bone spear rack unlocks near the south edge. Empty for now, expectant. Food stability moves up 2 ranks in 1 minute. Combat rank nudges up 1, then 1 more, then settles, because we have survived a monster event without losing a single woman. Ryu's raft holds. Barely. The shark eventually dives away, with the soldier and the blood. Ryu does not look at me. He looks at his crew. The crew looks back. He shouts something about sealing the rear panel. They seal the rear panel. Erin returns from the south edge with the spine and skull of the largest fish over her shoulder, and the leg of a smaller frost-cracked rib of a different bone, something that drifted free from the shark feeding. White, curved, and dense. She kneels at the bone spear rack and lays them out. I melt the broken steel head of a hospital scalpel over the furnace bowl, and Erin and I together work it onto the shaft of the long fish spine, tied with strips of the bedsheet Mrs. O tore into cord. The shark rib forms the cross haft. What we end up with is light, sharp at one end, weighted right, the kind of spear a strong young woman can drive through a layer of leather coat without losing her footing. Erin tests it in her hand, and her face does the small relaxing thing a fighter's face does when she has finally been given something that fits. Hein labels her first jar of warming salve and sets it on the medicine shelf. Nari writes the label, because her hands are still shaking and writing is something she can do without breaking anything. The handwriting is wobbly. I do not care about the handwriting. The label exists. Dr. Victor Hale's name comes into my head at that exact moment as a private message. 1 line, no greeting. Survival rate above expected. Watching. I read it twice. He is polite. He is dangerous. I do not answer. Minso notices the way my eyes go still and crosses the deck. She does not ask. She rests 2 fingers lightly under the wrist of my dominant hand. For half a second, the way nurses check pulses on doctors who have forgotten to check themselves, and her eyebrow lifts a millimeter at what she finds. Eat the rest of your soup, doctor, she says, more gently than she has said anything all day. I tell her, I will, in a minute. She tells me, now. I drink the broth in 3 swallows because Minseo in nurse mode is not a person I am going to disobey on a cracked raft over a fish soup. Her hand stays at my wrist for 1 extra second before she turns away. The system quietly tells me trust between primary physician and senior nurse has moved up 1 tier. It does not need to tell me. My wrist already knew. Erin sets the first bone scalpel spear on the new bone spear rack with a small clean satisfaction in the corners of her eyes. Beside it, the second spear, the close range one, slots in next. She tightens the straps holding the rack to the south rail and tests it twice. Then she crouches by the wind wall and looks down the chat scroll in her own head, reading the way someone who never used to read chat reads now, slow but steady. Doctor, she says, 3 rafts are calling us the soft hands raft as a compliment now. 2 are still calling us the soft hands raft as an insult. The shift just happened. I tell her, good. Do not engage either. She does not. Engaging is for people with nothing to lose. We have everything to lose. Erin wants to talk about the spears longer than she lets on. I sit with her for a moment, because she has earned a moment. The first spear, she says, holding it across her knees, the long one, is balanced for a throw at the line of contact, where a man's coat opens at the collar. Not the throat itself, because the throat is small and the wind would steal it. Above the throat, just below the jaw, where the cold has thinned the skin, and where any man worth fearing has not been wearing a scarf for 2 days. She has the look of a woman who is no longer pretending she has not thought about exactly which man she might be aiming at. I tell her, that is a kill shot. Do not throw it unless you mean it. She tells me, Doctor, I will not throw it unless I mean it. We do not say Ryu's name out loud. We do not need to. The second spear, she says, the shorter one, is balanced for the close-in moment, when a man has come over the south rail and is finding his footing on the deck. Once he is up, the blade goes in low, under the ribs, on the side away from the heart, because that is the side a person can be made to stop fighting without dying immediately, and a person who is not dying immediately can be made to talk. Erin is 23 years old, and she is talking like a security captain who has trained for 10 years. She has not trained for 10 years. She has trained for 2. The rest is the kind of thing a woman finds inside herself when 20 other women are sleeping behind her, and she is the only person between them and the south rail. I tell her, do not aim to kill the second man. Aim to take him out of the fight. She tells me, that is what I said, doctor. I do not correct her again. Heian, listening from the medicine shelf, opens her sealed jar of dried seaweed and ash and shows me what she has put together in the last hour. It is not real smoke powder. It is a primitive imitation. She has crushed the seaweed thin, mixed in fish oil-soaked ash from the furnace bowl, and packed it into 3 small twists of waxed paper that came from the inner wrapping of the nutrient packs. The packs will smolder, she says, more than they will burst. Once lit, the smoke will be acrid. It will make eyes water and breathing hard for a small distance, in a short time. Better than nothing. I tell her, save one for Erin, save one for Bora to set near the south rail, save one for emergency. She nods. The third pack she tucks under the medicine shelf where only she knows the spot. Bora reports something else then. Doctor, she says. A raft I have not seen before just messaged. The handle is Lena Frost. She offers a map of the local current, free no charge, in exchange for being included in our trade circle later. The map says where the warm currents flow and where the cold ones do. It also marks where frost shark territory has been moving this week. I look at Bora. Bora's face is the same flat focused face she had when she identified the Park family raft and the fishing brothers, but underneath it is a small extra layer of wariness. Doctor, she says, I do not know this woman. I do not know if the map is real. I tell her, accept the map. Mark her as unverified. Do not give her anything in return tonight. She nods. The map arrives in chat as a small simple set of arrows over a region grid. Bora studies it. 2 of the arrows match what Soyeon's life pulse sense told us about the fish school earlier today. The map is at least partly real. Whoever Lena Frost is, she has working intelligence. I file her name in the same drawer as Daniel, Ryu, and Victor Hale, with a different label. Useful, untrustworthy, alive. Minseo brings me a small clean piece of cloth and a tiny dab of the warming salve at sundown and tells me, your hands are cracked at the knuckles. Hold still. I hold still. Her thumb works the salve into the small splits in my skin, with the absent precision of a woman who has done this for 100 patients and is not thinking about it as anything more than maintenance. The salve stings cold, then stings warm. My knuckles, which have been bleeding very slightly all afternoon in a way I had not noticed, stop bleeding. She wipes the excess on her own sleeve. There, she says. I tell her, thank you, Minseo. She says, Doctor. She does not catch herself this time. Doctor, she says again, more deliberate. That is what you are tonight. Be that. I nod. The system, very softly, registers the moment without ceremony. Trust between primary physician and senior nurse. Second tier reached. Mrs. O, who has been pretending not to watch this entire small scene, hands me a second small bowl of broth, without comment. Drink, she says. I drink. The grandmother in her has now fully taken over. Tonight the cook is on standby. Bora notices something in chat that I do not. She looks at me with the particular focus of a dispatcher about to relay a real emergency. Doctor, she says, a small raft 300 paces south is reporting frostbite. One woman, severe, foot. They are not asking us. They are asking the chat. I ask Bora who is on that raft. She says a single mother and 2 children, last name Park. I look at Heian. Heian already has a sealed jar of warming salve in her hand. Send it, I tell Bora, and add a single instruction with it. Apply to the area in a thin layer. Do not rub. Wrap in clean cloth. Do not let the foot get wet again. Bora arranges the tied rope drop with the small raft's older child in 2 minutes flat, and the jar is gone before I have time to second guess sending it. The single mother messages back. Public, polite, dignified. Thank you, Dr. 27. The chat reads the exchange. Mockery in 3 threads goes quiet. Bora's smile this time is real. The Beverly Pierce woman tries to post under it something about charity from a raft that cannot feed itself, but the post lands flat. Everything has shifted in the way chats shift when ordinary people have been watching for long enough to make up their own minds. Daniel Cross does not engage either. He is saving his ammunition for the public moment he intends to make later. I file the silence as a warning. Polite quiet from a rich man is the loudest kind of warning. Jisoo finishes her soup and watches me from the corner. Her eyes have a question. I crouch by her at the level she is sitting, and she asks it quietly, while the other women are busy with their work and not listening. Doctor, why did you put us, the three of us, in the warm corner? We cannot work. The two strong nurses should be where it is warmest. I am not worth. She does not finish the sentence. She does not know how to finish it. I tell her, you are carrying a person who has not been born yet. The cold reaches them through you. If you stay warm, they stay alive. Once they stay alive, this raft has a future that is not just us. That is the only triage that matters right now. She looks at me a long time. Her hand does not leave her belly. I see, she says. I do not think she sees yet. I think she is starting to. The thing I do not say to Jisoo is the second half of the answer, which is that triage on this raft is not only about who has the best chance of surviving the next hour, it is about who has the best chance of giving the rest of us a reason to survive the next year. A baby on this deck, born alive, registered on the system, would shift our protected lives parameter from 3 unborn to 3 unborn plus 1 born. And the math on that small shift, in the way the system has begun to phrase things in my head, is the kind of math regions are built on. I do not say this because I do not want Jisoo to feel like a number. Numbers are for me to carry. Mothers are for me to keep warm. Mrs. O refills Jisoo's bowl with the second half ration she had saved under the lid, and she does it without ceremony, just one slow ladle and a small nod. Jisoo eats it. The salt and warmth move through her in a small visible wave, and somewhere in her body a knot that has been tight for months loosens by a small fraction. I see her shoulders drop again. The maternity nurse, Jang Hyemi, has drifted closer to Jisoo and is now sitting cross-legged near her feet, with her hand resting lightly on Jisoo's ankle. Not pressing, just resting. The way labor nurses sit when a woman is in early stages and just needs to feel a hand. Jisoo does not look at Hyemi. Hyemi does not look up at Jisoo. The hand stays. What is happening between them is quieter than anything else on the raft, and is, in my opinion, the most important thing happening on the raft. Hyemi's hand on Jisoo's ankle in the windwall corner is the same kind of small, steady light I have been trying to make for someone. A long time ago, in another dark room I do not let myself walk back into now. My chest tightens for a second. I close the drawer before it opens further. The sun has not yet set, but the sky is thickening. I check the wind wall. The translucent gray panel is holding, slightly tilted by the wind, but stable. Our expansion boards are dry. Heian has moved the medical storage box into the inside corner where it will not get hit if anything happens to the south rail. Along the wind wall, the fish drying rack has 11 strips of fish on it now, twisting slowly in the moving air. Beneath them, the small furnace bowl glows a dull, steady orange. Mrs. O has begun rationing a second pot of water, so we will have warm liquid for the long part of the night. Aaron has tightened the lashing on the south rail twice. Bora has the chat in 3 layers in her head. Heian has begun grinding a small jar of dried seaweed and ash for what will eventually be a primitive smoke powder, the kind of pharmacist who has read old books knows how to make without admitting where she learned it. Nari finishes her bowl of soup and stands up. She does not announce that she is standing up. She just stands. She walks over to me with the wobbly steadiness of a person who has decided to do something she has not done before. Doctor, she says. I tell her, Ji Woo, in this corner. She nods and says, Doctor, formally, because she is not ready for first names yet, and that is fine. I would like, she says, to take watch shift 2 with whoever is awake. I have not slept much in the last day and I will not sleep much tonight, regardless, so I might as well be useful. I look at her for a long moment. I tell her, granted. Watch shift 2 with Choi Sora, the X-ray tech. Her job is to stand by the storage box and call me if anything changes. Yours is to stand at the south rail and call Aaron if anything changes. Do not try to fight. Above all, do not try to be brave. Just call. Nari nods 3 times, the way she nods, and she takes her position at the south rail without waiting. Aaron sees the position taking and gives her a small approving glance. Nari pretends not to notice. The corner of her mouth goes up anyway. Boris Chatwork pulls out a small piece of data that does not feel like data. A handle named Tom Reed posts in the regional chat a small question. Polite, no joke attached. Dr. 27, if I have 10 paces of plastic sheet, would you trade for 2 bowls of soup? I tell Bora, ask him what the plastic sheet was used for. She asks. He answers, the back wall of a greenhouse at a community garden, never used outdoors, clean. I tell Bora, agree, the plastic sheet is going to be the second wall of our pregnancy corner. He sends it on a tied rope drop 2 minutes later, neatly folded, and I unfold it on the deck and find that it is in fact clean greenhouse plastic, thick enough to bend the wind, thin enough to fold tight. Mrs. O inspects it and says, this is good plastic. Tom Reed asks no other questions and offers no other items. He just signs off with, "Good luck, doctor." He is the kind of small raft man who will end up alive longer than anyone expects, because he treats trade like trade and not like a battle. Bora marks him in her color wheel. Future ally. I install the greenhouse plastic against the inside of the wind wall, behind the pregnant corner, doubling the dead air layer. The temperature in the corner moves up by an amount I can feel on the back of my hand within 5 minutes. My system confirms it. Pregnancy rest corner thermal stability improved by 12%. Maternal heat loss reduced. Unborn metabolic stress reduced. The corner now reads, in the small system overlay only I can see, as a stable nursery base. Whitegrave chat does not see this. Daniel Cross does not see this. I see it. That is, for now, enough. Whitegrave storm warning rolls into the chat then. Automated neutral, scrolling like a weather alert on a bus screen. Storm front incoming. Estimated 2 cycles. Wind force significant. Wave height moderate. Visibility low. Cold damage probability high. The chat changes tone slightly. Mockery does not stop, but it thins. Anyone with sense is now thinking about their own raft. I do a quick walking inventory of everything we have built since I woke up on the cracked deck this morning, which was probably not even 9 hours ago, but feels like a week. 21 people alive. 3 pregnant patients stable. 11 strips of fish curing. 2 bowls of soup in reserve. 6 bowls served. 8 intact antibiotic vials. 2 scalpel handles. 3 blades. 4 sterile gauze rolls. Up on the medicine shelf, a jar of warming salve sent out. Another jar still in place. A 3rd batch in progress. Long range, 1 bone scalpel spear. At close range, a 2nd smaller spear. Behind the pregnant corner, a greenhouse plastic wall newly added. 10 paces of fishing rope. Roughly 6 square paces of additional wool. Heat patch sealed and tested. Small furnace bowl glowing. Cracked heat stone half. Bone spear rack, 2 slots filled. Trade market unlocked. Tiered pricing engaged. 8 DMs in Bora's chat tray. 6 small rafts trading or watching. Plus polite watchers named Tom Reed and Dr. Victor Hale. The other side of the inventory is heavier. Out south, 1 enemy military raft with a damaged heat core, and a captain who has declared his intent to ram us at the 3rd hour after dark. Up north, a luxury raft holding a public offer for the senior nurse, a quiet amplifier network, and an unknown number of contracted small rafts. 3 rich amplifier handles named Beverly Pierce, Reese, and Pacific Crown. Above them in chat, an unknown polite large hospital observer named Victor Hale. Inside the corner, an unborn live talent on my pregnancy patient. Underneath my skull, an untested costed scan ability with a stamina ceiling that nearly drops me when I push it. Behind everything, my sister who is not on this raft, who has not been on any raft for 11 years, who lives in a drawer in my chest that does not close all the way. Above it all, the storm front, 2 cycles out. The math is bad. Such math has always been bad. Medicine is mostly the art of finding the one path through a bad math problem that ends with a patient still breathing at the other end. I move through the raft once more, slowly, touching each woman lightly on the shoulder as I pass. The way an attending touches each bed on a night round, saying nothing, just confirming that each one is still there. They feel it. The X-ray tech leans into my hand for half a second. Hayemi, the maternity nurse, nods without opening her eyes. Behind her, Lim Yejin, the social worker, says, "Thank you, doctor." Very softly, as if I have done something instead of just walked past. None of them are at full strength. All of them are still here. Daniel Cross's name enters the chat for the first time at sundown. The luxury raft posts a picture, which means he is showing off bandwidth he should not have. Inside the picture, the cabin is heated, lit warm gold, with insulated walls and what looks like a real bed and a small bookshelf. Then the message lands beneath it, posted to all of Whitegrave, formatted with the easy confidence of a man who has never been told no by a system. Dr. 27, your senior nurse will not survive the storm on a raft that small. I offer her safe passage to my heated cabin until the front passes. In exchange, I ask only that she remain on my raft permanently as my personal medical attendant. I will not press the offer twice today. Decide. The chat erupts. Bora's mouth flattens. Aaron's grip on the new spear tightens. Mrs. O sets down her ladle very slowly. Hayne does not look up from the medicine shelf. Nari freezes mid-label. Eunice says soundless, the kind of soundless word a woman uses when she has heard a sentence before from a different rich man. I do not move for a count of 3. People in chat are waiting for me to react. Everyone on this raft is waiting for me to react. Daniel has already won a small piece of the negotiation by forcing me into a public timing window, and the only way to take that piece back is to refuse to be timed. So I count. 1, slow. 2, slower. 3. Then I do something I have learned from a few good attendings, which is to act as if a thing has not been said until I have decided what to do about it. I crouch by Jisoo first. I check her pulse. I tell her, do not look at the chat. She nods. I check Yuna's pulse without touching her bruise. I tell her, breathe in shallow if your side hurts. Breathe out long. She does not roll her eyes only because she is too tired. I check Soyeon's pulse. Steady. Better than it was. The chat is still waiting. I am not. Bora taps the deck twice with her knuckle. The dispatcher's sign that means, "This is going to escalate, I have it." I tell her quietly, "Do not reply on my handle. Watch only." She nods. Daniel Cross has paid for bandwidth that lets him post images. He has also, in my experience with men like Daniel, paid for at least 2 amplifiers in chat who will pile on the moment he is contradicted. I do not want to give the amplifiers air. The longer I stay silent, the more obvious the structure of his network becomes. Bora is mapping it on her palm in real time. I see her finger trace a curve. Beverly Pierce is one of the amplifiers. Another handle named Reese is another. A third under the name Pacific Crown is a third. All 3 are luxury rafts. Right now they are quiet, and they will not be quiet in a minute. Min Seo straightens. She does not look at me. She opens her own chat handle, which I did not know she had, and she types her reply in plain words. Public. Slow enough that the whole region reads it as she sends it. Daniel Cross. I am Yu Min Seo. Senior Nurse, Hospital Raft 27. I am not for sale. I belong to no one. Thank you for your concern about my safety. I am safer here than in any heated cabin you can offer. End message. The chat ripples again. A new handle joins the mockery thread. A socialite voice I recognize from a luxury raft. A woman whose name posts as Beverly Pierce, soft and bright the way a knife is bright. She comments under Minceo's reply. Brave words from a soft hands raft. Let us see how brave Nurse Mincio feels in the storm. The pregnant burden raft thinks it can negotiate. Adorable. The chat laughs in the way chats laugh. Daniel does not reply. He does not need to. The offer is still there, glowing in my head. Polite and final. 2 small rafts DM me at the same time. The first is a 4-person family raft, mostly women, asking if we trade soup for cloth. Right after that, a 2-person fishing raft, 2 brothers asking if we trade soup for rope. Bora reads them out without looking at me. Both are real, she says. Neither is Ryu. Daniel is not in either chain. The fishing brothers can spare 10 paces of good rope. That family can spare wool. I tell her, agree to both. Tied rope drop at 30 paces, 3 bowls per trade. She nods. The trade market activates in the system as a real category as soon as the first rope hits our deck. Trade market unlocked. Tiered pricing engaged. Small rafts, ally pricing. Large rafts, standard pricing. 3 more small rafts DM after that. 2 of them ask for soup. The third offers loyalty in exchange for protection. I decline a loyalty offer politely, because I do not have the deck space or the food to be anyone's lord, and I do not want the responsibility yet. The third raft thanks me anyway. People remember polite no. The first trade goes off cleaner than I expected. Erin coils a rope around her elbow the way she must have coiled bandage tubing in security drills, and she sends the loop sailing across the gap to the fishing brothers with a small grunt and a clean follow-through. The brothers catch it on the second toss. We tie a wooden bowl with a lid to the middle of the line and they slide it across. Fish soup steaming under the lid, and back comes their rope. 10 clean paces of it knotted in 3 places where it had been spliced before. Mrs. O inspects the splice from the deck without going near the rail and tells me, "This is good rope. The man who tied it knew what he was doing." I tell her to remember which raft it came from. She nods. People who tie clean knots tend to keep tying clean knots. The family raft trade is slower. Their woman is older, with a child against her hip, and she does not throw rope. She lowers a small basket on a longer line because she does not trust the wind. Inside the basket is a folded wool square the size of a coat, smelling faintly of cedar. Cedar means she packed her own house before she ran. People who pack before they run survive longer. We send back 2 bowls instead of 1 because Mrs. O has decided so, and because Bora's hand on my arm tells me, in the soft language of dispatchers who used to read voice tones for triage, that the older woman is the kind of person you want owing you a small favor, not a big one. Bora keeps logging. She has invented a kind of chart for it, without any chart paper, using her finger to draw on her own palm while she talks. Family raft, 2 adults, 1 child, female heavy, willing trade, slow but reliable. Fishing brothers, 2 adults, male heavy, willing trade, fast and clean. 6 other small rafts, watching, not yet talking. 3 luxury rafts, talking, mostly mocking. 1 military raft, Ryu, dangerous. Plus 1 unidentified rich raft, Daniel Cross, dangerous in a different way. Then a large hospital raft, Victor Hale, polite, dangerous, unknown. She looks up. Doctor, that is the map. I tell her, that is enough map for tonight. She blinks. Then she smiles small, the way a person smiles when they realize they are still good at the only thing they were ever good at. Hayne has begun a second jar of warming salve from the leftover fish oil. The smell is sharp in the small space. A fisherman's sting that makes my eyes water in a way I am grateful for, because it is the first sharp thing that has happened on this raft that is not fear. Nari labels the second jar with a steadier hand than the first. The handwriting is still wobbly, but she has stopped making the letters get smaller as the line goes on. I watch her without making her notice the way I used to watch interns in their first night shift. Nari is going to be a doctor. Whether anyone else here notices yet is another matter. Yuna has, without anyone asking, dragged herself to the edge of the pregnancy corner so that her body is between Soyeon and the open deck. She is not strong. She is not even fully upright. She has decided, in a way I have seen women decide 100 times in a delivery ward and in an emergency room and in a quiet room with a closed door, that she is going to be the wall between something fragile and something cold. The bruise on her jaw has darkened. She still will not let me look at it. I do not look. Instead, I ask if her side hurts when she breathes in. Less, she lies. I tell Hayin to leave a small wrapped paste of warming salve where Yuna's hand can reach it without anyone watching. Hayin leaves it. Yuna will not touch it tonight. She will touch it tomorrow. That is enough. Soyeon stirs. Her eyes do not open. She says quietly, "Fish." Then she says, "Quieter, baby." Then her hand finds her belly under the blanket and stays there. I watch her for a long minute. Life pulse sense is a strange talent on a woman whose body is already doing the work of holding life inside it. She did not ask for the talent. The system gave it to her because she has been carrying a small frightened heartbeat for months in a body that has been told it is in the way. Something in the world keeps giving women like Soyeon talents that look like burdens. I will try on this raft to make hers feel like a power instead. Jisoo has fallen asleep with her hand still on the blanket edge. There are tear tracks on her face that have dried into thin salt lines. She did not eat all of her soup. I tell Mrs. O to keep half a bowl warm for when Jisoo wakes, because women who do not finish their food are women who need a second chance to finish it without an audience. Mrs. O slides the half bowl back onto the small furnace bowl with a wooden lid over the top. Done. Without comment. The grandmother in her is already taking over from the cook. Minseo finishes her round of the warm corner and comes to stand near me. She does not sit. She does not lean. She stands the way senior nurses stand, weight balanced, hands free, eyes already on the next problem. "Doctor," she says, then catches herself and switches to Ji-woo, the way she has been catching herself all day, the way she will probably catch herself for weeks. I tell her, "Do not stop calling me doctor in public." Inside the corner, Ji-woo, outside the corner, doctor, because the chat respects titles. She nods. "Smart," she says. I tell her, "That is mostly your idea." She does not blush. She files it. Aaron is on her second spear. The shaft is shorter, the head heavier, designed for thrusting at close range rather than the long throw of the first. She balances it on her finger and finds the center. The metal of a second melted scalpel head wraps the tip in a thin collar that will not last forever but will last tonight. She is humming, very quiet. A song I cannot place. The kind of song a person hums when they are not aware they are humming. She is happy. She has not been happy in a long time. I make a note. Erin needs work to do or she falls into a hole. From now on, give her work. The chat shifts mood around us as the sun drops. Mockery thins, partly because the storm warning is on everyone's mind, and partly because 3 small rafts have now traded with us in public, and people who watched the trades quietly clicked from amused to interested. A handle I do not know posts a question to the broad chat. Dr. 27, what would soup cost a 4-person raft with no rope and no cloth? Only 1 heat patch. Bora's eyes track the post. She looks at me. I tell her, 2 bowls for the heat patch, but only if their patch is genuinely whole, and only after we scan the patch for tampering. She types the reply back, public, polite, professional. The asker says thank you and waits. Whitegrave watches. A second handle posts under it. Why are you trading at all, Dr. 27? The question goes. When you should be hoarding for the storm. I think about the answer for 2 seconds. I type back, also public. A raft that hoards alone in a storm dies alone. Whoever trades fairly before the storm has neighbors when the storm ends. The chat is quiet for the length of a breath, then a small ripple of approvals from rafts I do not know. Bora's mouth quirks. Doctor, she says, you just said something a politician would say. I tell her, I am a doctor, not a politician. She says, on this sea, those are sometimes the same thing. I do not argue. Dr. Victor Hale, the polite large hospital man, sends a second private message. 1 line, again. The trade reply was correct. I read it and do not respond. Polite people who watch and send 1-line approvals are the most dangerous people in any region, because they are still deciding what kind of ally they want to be. I file Victor Hale into the same compartment as Daniel Cross, with a different label, and move on. The Beverly Pierce woman posts again under Daniel's pinned offer. A doctor playing politician on a soft hands raft. How sweet. The chat does not laugh as hard this time. People who are watching trades do not laugh easily at the trader. Bora marks Beverly as a hostile signal we will continue to track. I tell her not to engage. Mockers want oxygen. Do not give it. I push the system harder than I should at sunset. There is a flat new ice patch to the east that the wind has thinned. I do not like it. I run a costed scan. Stamina drops. The world dims by half. Out east, the ice patch reads thin. Water below. No large life. But the scan ends and my nose runs again, heavier this time, and I cough into my sleeve. A warm palm settles on the back of my neck. Minseo. Her hand is warm even through her sleeve. Sit, she says, the way she said it before. I sit. She does not move her hand for a second. Then she takes it away. Do not do that again today, she says. I tell her I will not. I am lying. She knows. She lets me lie. The reason I pushed the scan is that I needed to know whether the new ice patch is something Ryu's military raft could use as a launching foot for a ram. Thin ice means a heavy raft trying to cross it loses momentum. Soft floor under his nose means Ryu's plan to hit us at the third hour after dark is going to be harder than he thinks, because the wind has put a soft floor between his raft and ours, and a heavy military platform crossing soft floor is a platform that will slow down enough for us to see it coming. I file the result with Erin, quietly. South rail prepare, but expect 10 extra heartbeats of warning. She nods. 10 extra heartbeats is a long time on a raft like ours. Minseo sits beside me, not touching, just close. She does not speak for a while. I do not speak for a while. Both of us watch the wind wall tilt slightly in the gust and settle. Then she says without looking at me, "Doctor, if Captain Ryu rams us tonight, what is your plan?" I tell her, the plan is to let him think he is going to succeed up until the moment he is not. She says, more specifically, I tell her, Aaron holds the south rail with the long spear and does not throw unless he is already on the deck. Bora keeps the chat noise going so the rest of Whitegrave thinks we are panicking. Hayne lights the smoke twist on the south rail when his raft is 20 paces out, which will mask our actual movement. Mrs. O keeps the warm corner sealed off behind the greenhouse plastic. You take Nari and you stay at my left shoulder so if I drop, you finish the next 2 scans for me by following the protocol I wrote on the medicine shelf back wall. She is quiet for a long moment. Then she says, "You wrote a protocol on the medicine shelf back wall." I tell her, 2 hours ago, when nobody was looking. She says, "Doctor." I do not answer that, because the way she said it does not need an answer. The wind picks up by a small notch. In my head, the chat scroll runs faster as more rafts log on to weather chatter. A new handle posts a single observation that gets quietly boosted by several small rafts. Dr. 27's raft has the smallest combat score and one of the highest reported trade volumes in the region tonight. Curious. I do not engage. Bora does not engage. Daniel Cross does not engage. The Beverly Pierce woman attempts to engage, but her post does not stick because 2 small rafts I have helped today have begun. On their own, posting their own small observations about the soup, the salve, the rope trade, the polite no. Public opinion is a slow weather system. It is starting to turn. I do not say so out loud, because saying so is the fastest way to stop it turning. Daniel's offer is still glowing in chat when I look up. My hands are cold. So is the wind. Most of the things in my life that have ever mattered are cold too. I shut the drawer again before it can open the rest of the way. Daniel's offer is still glowing in chat when I look up. The Beverly Pierce woman is amplifying it now, posting under it every few minutes with little soft barbs about the senior nurse and the soft hands raft in the burden corner. Captain Ryu is silent for the first time tonight. He is watching. His raft has drifted into a position where he can see ours clearly, and his soldiers are no longer leaning on the left rail. The right rail looks reinforced. He has not forgotten the public chart note about his heat core. Then Ryu DMs me. Private. Direct. Dr. 27. I do not negotiate in public anymore. Tonight, before the storm, I will ram your raft and take what I want. Unless you give me human CO and the 3 pregnant women on a tether at midnight. My raft hits your raft at the 3rd hour after dark. I will not reply. The 3rd hour after dark is the hour when most monsters under the ice surface for warmth, which Ryu does not know because Ryu is not a doctor and has not been reading the supplementary information the system attaches to scan results. That same hour is also when wind speed peaks before a storm front and when raft-to-raft visibility drops to roughly nothing. Anyone ramming another raft at the 3rd hour after dark is going to do it half blind, with a damaged heat core leaking a warm plume that anything cold-blooded in the water can follow, and against a wind that will push him slightly off his line. He has chosen the worst hour to be brave, and the best hour to be stupid. I file the timing for later. For 1 second, I think about answering him. Just one short reply. Captain Ryu, your rear panel is still broken. Do not ram us before midnight, or you will not have a raft to ram with. The reply would be satisfying. It would also tell him I am paying attention to his raft instead of my own. I close the DM without replying. Men like Ryu need oxygen even more than mockers do. Withholding it costs me nothing and costs him sleep. I scan the south edge of our raft very lightly to check what kind of impact our deck could absorb. Stamina cost low. Result modest. Our raft is small enough that a direct ram would crack the southern third of the platform, but would not split us entirely if we have warning, because the new expansion boards and the lashings Aaron reinforced this afternoon are doing more work than they should. We could lose 3 women if a ram comes without warning. We could lose none if it comes with 1. The math is simple and ugly. I do not write it on Bora's palm. I write it inside my own head where nobody else can read it. I tell Aaron, quietly, 3rd hour after dark, prepare for impact on the south rail. Do not tell the others yet. She looks at me once, a small flat look, and nods. Her hand goes to the close-range bone spear at the rack. I tell Hayne, quietly, prepare smoke powder if you can, however small a batch, and a second small jar of alcohol oil that we can light fast if needed. She does not ask why. She just opens the medicine cabinet and starts measuring. I tell Bora, quietly, watch Ryu and only Ryu starting at the 2nd hour after dark. She nods. The plan is taking shape inside 3 women's heads at once, and not one of them needs me to draw it. I check the pregnant corner one more time. Seon is asleep again with her hand on her belly. Yuna is awake and pretending to sleep. Jisoo is awake and not pretending. I crouch by Jisoo and tell her, in a voice low enough that nothing leaves the corner, if anything happens tonight, I want you to stay flat against the back wall and put your hand on Soyeon's shoulder. Do not stand up. No matter what, do not try to help. Your job is to stay alive. She looks at me a long time. She says, Doctor, I have been trying to die quietly for 6 months. Tonight I will try to live noisily instead. I tell her, that is the right answer. I leave my hand on her shoulder for 1 count. Then I leave. Minseo is at my shoulder again. She has not seen the private message. She does not need to. She has read my face. Doctor, she says, then catches herself and switches to Ji-woo. The pregnant women are settled. Mrs. O is rationing the second pot. Aaron is working on a second spear. Bora is in 3 chats at once. Hain has finished the salve. Nari is asleep against the storage box with a pen in her hand. What do you need from me? I tell her, stay where you are. Help me think. She stays. The 3 pregnant women are visible from where I am sitting. Soyeon is asleep against the back wall, one hand under her belly, the other inside Yuna's hand. Yuna is awake, sharp eyes pretending to be closed. Jisoo is awake too. Her hand has finally come off her belly to hold the edge of the wool blanket Mrs. O tucked around her. She is watching me. The whole region is watching me. Daniel Cross's heated cabin photo is glowing in the chat panel above my left shoulder, with his offer still pinned. Beverly Pierce is amplifying it every 2 minutes. The other luxury rafts are placing soft beds and side threads. Dr. Victor Hale is watching without speaking. Captain Ryu is silent above water and loud in my private DM. The White Grave storm warning ticks down a minute every minute. Wind force climbs. 2 cycles until the front hits. I open the system in my own head and look at Daniel Cross's offer. Heated cabin. Insulated walls. 1 real bed. Some bookshelf I could not afford last year. Permanent transfer of 1 Minseo. Senior nurse. I look at Minseo at my shoulder. I look at the 3 pregnant women in the warm corner. I look at the broken half of a heat stone glowing in a furnace bowl, at the medicine shelf, at the bone spear rack with 1 spear on it, at the fish drying rack with strips swaying in the wind, at the wind wall that bends the worst of the cold away from the women who would not have lived through this evening without it. I look at the chat, glowing, waiting. My answer is going to decide which kind of raft this is, not just tonight. The answer decides for the whole region. It speaks for every small raft that DM'd us today, and for every luxury raft that is laughing now. My reply settles what Ryu does in the dark with his hand on a spear. The words I send next shape what Daniel will try in his warm cabin, tapping a finger against the table. Above all, decides for the 3 children who have not been born yet, and somewhere underneath all of it, for my sister, whose hand was cold a long time ago, in a winter that does not let go of me. I open the reply field. The cursor blinks. White Grave chat waits. Minseo waits. The pregnant corner waits. All around us, the frozen sea waits. I take a breath the way I take a breath before a first incision. My hand does not shake. My hand does not shake, but the cursor still blinks, and the reply field still waits, and somewhere on the other side of the wind, Daniel Cross is tapping his finger on a warm table, and waiting too. I do not type anything fancy. Fancy gets you killed in chat the way it gets you killed in a raft. I type 1 line, then I type a second line under it. After that I read the 2 lines back and decide they are clean enough to send. Bora is at my left elbow watching the screen of her own panel mirror mine. Her mouth does not move, but her eyebrows do the thing they do when she is impressed at me for not being clever. I send the reply public, under the Group 27 handle, so the whole region sees it post at the same moment. Daniel Cross sees it. The line reads, Group 27 is not selling people. Under it reads, our trade market is open for medicine, food, and warmth, in tightrope drop quantities at posted prices. People are not on the price list. End of post, no exclamation, none of the emoji icons from the standard set Bora keeps offering me. Just 2 flat sentences with a period at the end of each one, and my handle under both. The chat scroll keeps moving for a beat without reacting. Then it slows. After that it stops. For about 4 seconds the White Grave regional chat is the quietest thing in my head, and that is when I know the reply has landed. Beverly Pierce reacts first. Of course she does. She posts under my line with a small cold barb about how the soft hands raft is now too good to take warmth from a generous gentleman. Daniel Cross does not post. A man like Daniel Cross pays Beverly Pierce and 3 other handles to post for him, while he sips something hot and watches what the chat does. Reese posts the second barb. Pacific Crown posts the third. The barbs are well written. They are also a lot of barbs from a small number of accounts which any reader paying attention can see, and Bora has been quietly tagging those accounts on her palm for an hour. The wider chat reads the barbs and does not pile on. A larger silence is waiting for something else. What the wider chat is waiting for is human so. Daniel was not really making an offer to me. His offer was for her in front of the whole region, so that if she refused, she would look ungrateful, and if I refused for her, she would look owned. Men like Daniel have done this before, with women who did not have a senior nurse's spine. He has not done this before with Mincio. I do not say anything. I do not turn to her. I just step half a pace to the left and clear the space at my own reply panel and tilt the screen so that she can see it and reach the keyboard. The whole movement takes less than a breath. Bora's eyebrows go up a small notch. Mincio steps into the space without comment. She types under her own handle, not mine. The handle is the one she registered this morning when the system gave each of us a personal panel. What she types is short, plain, and posts public. Her line reads, I am you, Mincio, senior nurse. I belong to no one. Senior nurses do not transfer. Under it, she adds a second line, slower. The 3 pregnant women on this raft do not transfer either. Their doctors are here, their nurses are here, their warmth is here. Daniel Cross's heated cabin is not a hospital. End of post. She steps back from the panel. She does not look at me. She looks at the wind wall. Her hand is loose at her side. The chat reacts the way I thought it would, but harder. 3 small rafts post approvals immediately. 2 larger rafts post the silent watcher icon. The 1 polite handle is used when they want the whole region to know they are paying attention without taking a side. Dr. Victor Hale posts the silent watcher icon under Minso's line, which is not nothing. Beverly Pierce posts another barb. Reese posts another barb. Pacific Crown posts a slightly louder barb that includes the phrase pregnant burden raft. And Bora marks Pacific Crown with a darker color on her palm. Daniel Cross does not post for half a cycle. Half a cycle of silence from a man like Daniel Cross is more dangerous than any barb, but it is also a small confession. He did not get what he wanted. He is recalculating. Beverly Pierce keeps amplifying anyway because amplifying is what she is paid to do. I watch the chat scroll and feel my shoulders drop a small notch. For the first time since Daniel's offer pinned, Mincio's reply did not just refuse Daniel. It moved the conversation off Daniel entirely. The next post under hers, from a small raft handle I do not know, is a polite ask about whether Group 27 still has fish soup at the rate posted earlier. Bora answers that one for me. Yes, 2 soup cups for 1 ribbon of clean cloth, or 3 soup cups for 1 length of rope at the standard length. Tied rope drop only, no boarding, no contact. Drop point posted on the trade board. The asker says thank you. After that, the chat moves. Daniel Cross is still glowing in the panel above, but the chat has stopped looking at him. Bora turns half a pace toward me and says very quietly, Doctor, you just let her refuse him in her own voice. I tell her yes. She says, that was the right call. I tell her I know. She says, she will remember it. I tell her, I know. Bora does not push further. She turns back to her panel and posts a soft trade summary under our handle, listing what Group 27 has on offer tonight under storm pricing, listing tied rope drop coordinates, listing the polite no for any handle asking about senior nurses or pregnant patients. The summary is clean. 3 small rafts respond inside the first minute. A 4th raft, a polite trader handle I do not recognize, asks if we accept plastic sheets in exchange for frostbite salve. Bora answers yes at the standard rate. The plastic sheet trade goes through. Our trade market has its second cycle of the night. Choi Haynes steps up to my right shoulder and lays out the salve count on a flat strip of cloth. 12 salve jars total. 3 small, 9 standard. 2 have been used today, 1 for the Park family raft, and 1 half jar for Choi Sora's arm scrape earlier. That leaves 10. She does not need to say what the math means. The math means we can trade 4 standard jars tonight without compromising the storm reserve. And she has already pre-portioned 2 of the small jars for emergency use during the 3rd hour after dark window when Ryu may or may not ram us. I tell her 4 standard jars is the cap. She nods and posts the cap to the trade board through Bora's panel under our handle. 2 of the 4 jars trade out inside 10 minutes. The other 2 stay listed. Storm pricing holds. Mrs. O hands me a small cup of soup. The cup is warm. Inside it, the soup is mostly broth tonight because the second pot is being rationed for tomorrow's pre-storm window. I drink half and hand the rest to Nari, who has woken up and is rubbing her eyes with the heel of her palm. Nari takes the cup with both hands and drinks it down without asking. Her hair is sticking up in 3 directions. She looks at the medicine shelf, then at me, then at Minso, then at the trade board glowing above Bora's shoulder. She asks, quietly, Doctor, did Daniel Cross get told no in those words? I tell her, yes, in 2 voices. She thinks about that for a beat and says good. She does not say anything else. She wipes her hands on her oversized hospital coat and goes to check the medicine shelf labels. The wind picks up a quarter notch. Above us, the White Grave storm warning panel ticks down by a tick. Less than 2 cycles until front impact, and the front is wider than the earlier read said. Visibility forecast trends downward. Bora marks it on her palm with a slow line. I do not say anything to the women at the warm corner about Ryu's private DM yet, because if I tell them too early they will be braced too long, and bracing too long is worse than bracing exactly long enough. I tell Aaron instead, quietly, South rail in 2 hours, sit low and wait. Hain, alcohol oil at the south rim, ready to light. Bora, chat noise on cue, 2nd hour after dark. Mincio, you stay at my left shoulder. Everyone else, sleep if you can. Nobody sleeps, but everyone pretends to. because pretending is its own kind of rest on a night like this. That is when I notice the medicine shelf does not look right. The bottom row count is short, not by a lot, but enough. I do not say anything. I run a fast visual count under cover of stretching my arm, which is the cheap kind of count that does not need a scan. 2 warming compresses missing. 1 small jar of cough syrup short. Half a strip of fever patches gone. The missing items are the kind a frightened woman would grab if she thought tomorrow's reserve would not include her. Such math does not match the trade log. Hayne notices my eyes on the shelf and turns toward it too. Her face does not change. She nods once, very small. Minso has already noticed. She notices everything before I do, which is part of why she is the senior nurse and I am a tired doctor. She does not say anything either. She has not moved from my left shoulder, but her eyes had done a slow scan of the warm corner and the wind wall side and stopped twice. Once on Choisora's bedroll near the storage box and once on Limyajan's bedroll behind the medicine shelf. Both of those women have been awake during the medicine count for the last 2 cycles. Each has been quiet about it. Sora's arm scrape is healing well. Yejin has no injury. Neither of them is on the priority list for warming compresses tonight. Minsio's mouth tightens by a small fraction. She leans toward my ear and says, "Doctor, 2 of them." I tell her, "I see." I do not call the women out. I do not raise my voice. I do not even cross the deck toward them, because the second a doctor crosses a deck toward a frightened woman with stolen medicine in her bedroll, the medicine gets thrown over the side, and you lose it. And you also lose the woman, because she stops being a member of the raft, and becomes a thief in her own head. Theft in a head metastasizes. I have seen it in hospital wards. I am not going to see it on a raft. I tell Minso, "Gather everyone under the wind wall, please. Quietly. No alarm. Tell them I want a count meeting." She nods and goes. She gathers them inside a few minutes. The pregnant corner stays where it is, but the 3 women in it are awake now, watching, and Soyeon's hand has settled on Yuna's wrist again. All the other women come over without comment. Mrs. O sets the soup pot lid back on. Nari comes from the medicine shelf. Erin keeps her eye on the south rail but listens. Bora keeps one eye on the chat panel and one ear on me. Hayne stands behind my right shoulder. Choi Sora and Limyajin come too. Both of them sit on the outside edge of the wind wall ring, half turned away, which is how a person sits when she does not want to be looked at directly. I do not look at them directly. I look at the medicine shelf, which is just behind me, and I gesture with one hand toward it. I tell the whole group, plainly, the count. 6 pregnancy salve jars total. The 3 pregnant women on this raft have used between them, since the wake-up cycle, 1 half jar. I have used roughly the same on Choi Sora's arm scrape and on the Park family raft's frostbite case. 12 frostbite salve jars total. 2 used, 4 traded out, 6 in storm reserve. Cough syrup, 2 bottles, 1 bottle is missing about a finger of liquid since the last count, which is not a use I logged. Warming compresses, the count came in at 12 this morning. The count comes in at 10 tonight, 2 missing. Fever patches, 1 strip and a half this morning, 1 strip tonight, half a strip missing. I lay the numbers out flat on the deck, with the medicine right beside them, where everyone can see. I do not say a name. I let the silence sit for a long beat. The wind makes the wall behind us tilt half an inch and settle. Above Bora's shoulder, the chat keeps moving, but here in the ring we have stopped moving entirely. I tell them the 3 pregnant women on this raft have used less salve tonight than I have given to the Park family raft this afternoon. The 3 pregnant women have not touched the cough syrup, because there is no cough on this raft yet. None of them have touched a warning compress, because Mrs. O's hot soup is reaching the warm corner before a compress would. The numbers do not show pregnancy women using up the supplies. What the numbers do show is 2 women who are not on the priority list have taken a small amount each, quietly, for themselves, in case tomorrow goes wrong. Sora looks at the deck. Yejin looks at her own hands. I do not say their names. The ring of women around me knows already, the way every ring of women around me has ever known. I tell the ring, plainly, panic is allowed on this raft. Panic at the cold, at the chat mocking us, at Ryu's military raft drifting north, at Daniel Cross's pinned offer, at the storm 2 cycles out. Fear at having 3 pregnant patients and 1 tired doctor and a broken heatstone. All of it is human. None of it is punished. Theft is punished. Stealing from this medicine shelf weakens the women whose bodies are doing the hardest work on this raft tonight, which is gestation, and weakens the storm reserve, which is what keeps everyone alive after the front hits. I let that sit too. Then I tell them, raft law, 3 rules, posted publicly under our handle tomorrow morning. Rule 1, panic is allowed and never punished. Number 2, theft from shared shelves is punished by visible counting duty until trust is rebuilt, and by the loss of any private storage privilege. Then 3, food and medicine are counted by hand every cycle in front of at least 2 witnesses, with the count posted on the back of the medicine shelf, where everyone can read it. Everyone works according to ability. Pregnant women rest. Trained nurses treat. Frightened women count alongside trusted women until the fear gets smaller. Nobody on this raft is useless. No one on this raft is invisible. Sora's chin trembles a small amount, but her eyes do not leave the deck. Yejin's hands keep folding and unfolding in her lap. Mincio is at my left shoulder, very still. Mrs. O is at my right shoulder with her arms crossed. Nari has gone very quiet, which is how Nari goes when she is paying close attention. The pregnant corner is paying close attention too. Seon's hand is on Yuna's wrist. Jisoo has lifted her head from her blanket and is watching me with her whole face, not with her habitual sideways glance. Yuna's sharp eyes are on me, not on the ring, and her sharp eyes are doing a thing I have not seen them do before, which is sit still on me without flinching away. I tell the ring, last point. The two women who took something tonight are not named. Both of them know who they are. Each has a choice in the next minute. Either step forward, give the items back, and sit on counting duty alongside Nari until the storm passes, in which case nothing leaves this circle and nothing goes into a chat post. Or stay where you are, and at the next count cycle, if the math does not match, the names get logged in our internal book, the items get docked from your storm ration, and the Raft log gets posted in chat with examples. I am giving you a clean exit. Choose it. Sora steps forward first. She is small and her hands are shaking, but she steps. She pulls the cough syrup bottle from inside her coat, then a warming compress, then a half strip of fever patches. She does not say anything. Tears go down her face, but she does not wipe them. Yejin steps forward second. She pulls one warming compress out of her bedroll and sets it on the deck next to Sora's stack. Her mouth opens once, twice. She says, I was scared the count tomorrow would be short and the three of them would get more and I would get less. The sentence is plain. It is honest. It is the kind of sentence you cannot punish without becoming a worse doctor than I want to be. I tell them both, the count tomorrow is not going to be short. The count tomorrow will be in front of every woman on this raft, twice. Both of you are on counting duty alongside Nari, until the storm passes. Trust gets rebuilt by visible work. You both keep your blanket, your soup ration, your warm corner edge. Nobody loses anything tonight that they need to live. Sora nods. Yejin nods. Mrs. O, without being asked, walks over and puts a hand on each of their shoulders. Briefly, the way an older woman puts a hand on a frightened younger woman who is trying to do better. Both of them lean into it for half a second. The ring exhales. Mincio writes the Raft law on the back of the medicine shelf with the same blunt pencil she keeps in her coat pocket. She writes in clear block letters. Panic is allowed, never punished. Theft is punished by visible counting duty until trust is rebuilt, and by loss of private storage privilege. Food and medicine are counted by hand every cycle in front of at least 2 witnesses. Count posted on the shelf. Everyone works according to ability. Pregnant women rest. The block letters are clean. They will stay clean even when the deck is wet. The pencil mark goes into the wood the way good medicine goes into a body, with no fuss. I post the Raft law in chat under our handle a minute later. Same 3 rules. Plain language. No editorial. The chat reacts more quietly than I expected. Several small rafts boost the post. Dr. Victor Hale posts the silent watcher icon under it. Daniel Cross does not post under it, because Daniel Cross does not engage with documents that describe people as not for sale. Beverly Pierce posts a barb about how cute it is that the Burden Raft has rules now, but the barb gets 1 approval and falls down the scroll. Captain Ryu does not post. Above water he is preparing. Bora marks the chat boosts on her palm with a small, satisfied stroke. She does not say anything to me. She does not need to. That is when Yuna speaks for the first time tonight. She is still in the warm corner, half propped on a folded blanket, sharp eyes on me. She does not raise her voice. The sentence she chooses is small. She says, Doctor, I respect a man who explains the numbers. She does not soften the look afterward. The look is what the look has always been with her, which is wary, watchful, ready to leave. But the wary has cracked a small line down the middle of itself. The watchful has shifted half a step toward me instead of half a step away. Her readiness to leave is still there, but it is conditional now. I tell her, thank you, in the same small voice she used. I do not say anything else. The pregnant corner exhales again. Seon's grip on Yuna's wrist loosens. Jisoo lays her head back down. Mrs. O closes the soup pot. Nari near the medicine shelf has already started writing the count list with Sora and Yejin sitting cross-legged beside her. Sora is using both hands to steady the cloth strip. Yejin is reading the labels out loud in a low voice. Nari is checking the math. The 3 of them are working as a unit inside 15 seconds, which is faster than I had any right to hope for. Mincio's hand brushes mine as she goes by, just the back of her knuckles against mine. Not even a full second of contact. Then she is at the warm corner adjusting Soyeon's blanket. I tell Bora, post the trade board update with the storm pricing locked. She is already typing. The wind drops half a notch for a moment, then picks back up. Whitegrave chat tells me snowfall is starting somewhere east of us, and the leading edge of the white wall is going to be on top of the raft within a cycle and a half. Bora has the chat noise queued. Aaron has the south rail spear racked. Haeen has the alcohol oil in a small jar at the rim. Mrs. Bo has the soup pot lidded. Nari has the count cloth on her lap with 2 former thieves who have become counters. Minso is at the warm corner. Jisoo is awake and not flinching. Yuna is awake and watching me. Seon is asleep again, which is the best sign I have had all night because the system has been quiet around her for almost an hour. It does not stay quiet. Soyeon's hand twitches against her own belly twice in a slow rhythm. She does not wake up. The twitch is not pain. That motion is the way her hand has moved twice now, in the previous cycle, when her life pulse sense was picking up something under the ice. I am the only person watching her hand. I crouch beside her without making the rest of the raft notice. I lay 2 fingers very gently on the back of her wrist. She does not wake. Her pulse is steady, slightly elevated. The pulse goes elevated, then settles, then elevates again. Twice. The same rhythm her hand is twitching to. Something is out there. Cold, human, and small. Not a fish school and not a frost shark, because the rhythm is wrong for either. Minseo is beside me before I straighten. She has read my face again. Doctor, she says quietly. I tell her. Soyeon is feeling something south of the raft. Not a fish. Also not a shark. 2 pulses. Small, cold, human-shaped. I am going to scan to confirm. She does not argue. She moves her body to block the view of me from Choi Sora and Lim Ye-jin, who are still on their count, and from Mrs. O, who is checking the soup. The rest of the raft does not see me run the scan. Inside my head, the system opens and asks for a target. I aim south, low, under the southern rim of our raft, where the ice lip overhangs. Stamina drops. The world dims. My nose runs warm. I do not flinch. The scan reads 2 figures, human-shaped, hugging the underside of the southern lip, wearing what the system flags as ice walker gear. Body temperature low, breathing slow, pulses controlled. Frostfang scouts. The system label for them was not in my interface this morning. That label has been added by the system itself, because the interface has been reading chat for the same patterns I've been reading, and Whitegrave has been mentioning Frostfang twice as often in the last cycle as in the cycle before. I close the scan. My nose is bleeding a thin line. Minseo's hand is on my elbow, steadying me. She wipes the blood without comment. She asks, also without comment, how many? I tell her, 2. South lip, hugging the overhang, ice walker gear, breathing slow. Neither has boarded. They are listening, reading the deck through the ice. They want to know which corner of the raft has the medicine, where the warm corner is, where the spear rack is, how many spears. I tell her, the answer is, we capture 1, alive. Through the south rim, hook trap. She nods. She does not ask how. She knows I have been talking to Aaron about exactly this trap for 2 days. I cross the deck to Aaron without making it look like I am crossing the deck to Aaron. I stop near the bone spear rack and pretend to check the lashings. Aaron is already at my elbow. South lip, I tell her. 2 scouts, ice walker gear, hugging the overhang. We capture 1 alive. The hook trap. Drilled hole at the south rim. Hook through the gear. Jerk up before he can scream. Bring him over the rim onto the deck flat. Gag. Restrain. Do not kill. Erin's mouth moves a small fraction at the edge, which is her smile. She has been waiting to use the hook trap for 3 days. A hook is at her hip already. She goes. I do not watch her go. I turn back to the deck and tell Bora. Chat noise, 2 notches, soup updates, and the antidote tea haying finished. Now, Bora is already typing. The chat scroll fills with mundane Group 27 updates inside the next minute. Soup pricing locked. Frostbite salve still on offer at standard rate. Tide rope drop only. Antidote tea now listed at a small reserve. Polite small raft trade only. No luxury rafts. 3 small rafts respond. The wider chat is reading our updates the way you read a recipe board, which means nobody is looking at our southern rim. Daniel Cross has reposted his offer twice with smaller emphasis each time, which is the corner of his eye reaction of a man losing an argument. Beverly Pierce has gone quiet for 10 minutes, which is the second small confession of the night. Captain Ryu's raft has drifted slightly north and is rocking on its damaged heat core in a way that the wind cannot quite explain, which means he is preparing his ram angle. Aaron works the hook through the small drilled hole at the south rim. The hole is one I cut yesterday, when nobody was looking, after the system flagged the southern rim as the easiest boarding point for a small human-shaped intruder. Bone-tipped, with a small alcohol rag bait wrapped near the curve, because a man hugging an overhang in ice walker gear has not had heat near his face in hours, and his nose will turn toward warmth the way a fish turns toward blood. Hayeen passes the alcohol rag bait to Aaron without comment. Aaron lights it half a second before she lowers it. The smell goes out under the rim. We wait. The hook takes about 10 seconds. I feel the lurch through the deck before I hear the small wet sound that is the hook setting in the gear under his arm. Aaron and Hayne pull together. The scout comes up over the south rim like a fish on a line. Eyes wide, mouth opening to shout. Aaron's other hand goes over his mouth. Mrs. O, without being asked, has crossed the deck with a wool blanket and a length of rope. The blanket goes over his head. A length of rope goes around his arms. He is on his back on the deck inside another 10 seconds. Bora has not stopped posting soup updates. The chat has not flinched. Our deck has captured a Frostfang scout, and Whitegrave does not know. I crouch beside him. The blanket comes off his head. His face is young, younger than I expected. Pale, frostbitten at the edges of his cheeks, lips cracked, eyes wide and not afraid yet, because he has not done the math on what is happening to him. I let him do it for a beat. He looks at Aaron, who has a bone spear half raised. He looks at Heian, who is standing back with a small jar of something in her hand. He looks at Mrs. O, who has the rope on his arms. He looks at me last because I am the one crouched at his eye level, and he understands finally that the deck he is on is not the deck he thought he was going to find. I tell him plainly, 2 choices. Listen carefully. Choice 1. You tell me who sent you, why you are scouting this raft, what your gang knows about us, and you tell me clean and fast. In exchange, you get warm soup, a wool blanket, a small dose of frostbite salve on your cheeks, and a safe corner near the south rail until the storm passes. After the storm, we drop you, alive, on the nearest neutral raft. Choice 2, you stay quiet. We do not have time to torture you, and I will not torture you, because I am a doctor, and I would rather not. But you do not get the soup. You do not get the blanket. Just the south rail in the wind until the storm hits. No gag, but if you yell. Aaron's other hand has the close-range spear, and the wind will eat the yell before anything north of us hears it. Make a choice. He stares at me. He looks at the soup pot. He looks at Mrs. O's wool blanket. He looks at the warm corner across the deck, where the 3 pregnant women are watching him without expression. He looks back at me. He says, soup. I tell him, the soup is conditional on the answers. Talk first, then soup. He talks. He talks the way a man talks who has not had soup in 2 days and is sitting on a deck that smells like soup, salve, and a doctor with steady hands. He talks fast. He talks clean. He says his gang is the Frostfang Gang, Southern Whitegrave Sector, 15 rafts and 3 small flotillas. He says the captains rotate. He says the lead captain for the next attack window is a man called Renz Holloway. He says they have been scouting Group 27 for 2 cycles. He says the orders came tonight. I ask him, who sent the orders to scout this raft, specifically? He hesitates for the first time. Mrs. O moves the soup pot half a foot back. He talks faster. He says the orders came from Renz Holloway, who got the coordinates from a paid tip. I ask, paid tip from whom? He hesitates again. Aaron's spear comes down a small notch, not threatening, just visible. He says, the tip came from a Whitegrave chat handle, mid-tier, military raft, paid in 2 heat stones. The captain who took the payment is named, in the chat trail, as Captain Ryu Dohan. He says the name plainly. He does not flinch. He does not understand yet what saying that name on this deck has just done. I tell Bora, very quietly, record this. She has been recording the whole conversation since the blanket came off his head. But she nods anyway, because confirming a recording is part of the protocol. I tell the scout, repeat the name and the payment terms, slowly, clearly. He repeats it, Captain Ryu Dohan. 2 heat stones. Coordinates of the Group 27 raft, sold by Captain Ryu Dohan to Renz Holloway of the Frostfang Gang in the previous cycle. Bora's eyes go very still, in a way I have only seen them go once before. She angles her recording crystal toward his mouth and asks him to repeat the name one more time, for clarity. He repeats it. She nods. The recording is clean. I tell Mrs. O give him the soup. She does. He drinks. He drinks the way a man drinks when he has not been warm in 2 days. Halfway through the cup, his hands stop shaking. Heian applies a small dose of frostbite salve to his cheeks. He does not flinch. I tell him, you are going to sit at the south corner of the deck, under a wool blanket with a length of rope around your arms, until the storm passes. You will not yell. If you yell, the deal is off, and you sit in the wind. Stay quiet, and after the storm we drop you alive on a neutral raft. He nods. He drinks the rest of the soup. He sits where I point. He stays quiet. The second scout under the south lip notices, somehow, that the first scout has not come back. Maybe the rope tug, possibly a small change in the rhythm of the deck above him. The second scout pushes off the lip and tries to run for the ice across the southern flat. Aaron sees him in the dark by the way the ice moves. She does not throw. She lets him go. A scout running for his gang carrying a story about a quiet raft is more useful to me alive than dead, because the story he carries is a story I want Renz Holloway to hear, which is that one of his scouts disappeared without a sound, and the other one cannot give him a clean read on our deck. Fear travels faster on cold ice than information. Bora is already cutting the recording. She does not post it yet. Posting it now would tip Ryu off. I tell her, post the audio under our handle the moment Frostfang's first attack wave hits the southern rim. Not before. She nods. The audio file is sealed in our panel with a one-tap release. As of now, Whitegrave Chat does not know yet that Captain Ryu Dohan has sold us. Everyone will know within the cycle. Bora's mouth does the very small flat thing it does when she has been handed a clean shot. She does not smile. The smile is for after. Inside my head, the system opens and writes a quiet line. No fanfare. A single line reads, Combat Triage Protocol unlocked. Below that reads, a doctor does not only save lives after battle, a doctor can decide who survives during battle. I read both lines twice. The system does not show me a menu. Instead, it gives me a feel, the way it gave me the feel of the medicine shelf the first time. There is a small new corner inside the scan interface, a corner that, when I look at it, will tell me where a body breaks in real time, on a moving target, in low visibility. I close the corner without exploring it. I will need it within the cycle. There is no point spending stamina on it now. I tell Minso, the next few cycles are going to be harder. She is at my left shoulder again, where she has been all night, and she does not look surprised. She tells me, I know. I tell her, the Frostfang gang is coming through the whiteout, and Ryu sold the location, and the chat is going to know it within the cycle. She nods. I tell her, my sister, once, the night the blackout took her, she asked me what it felt like to be a doctor in a building with no power and not enough heat. I told her then, the trick is to do the next correct thing without thinking about the previous incorrect one. She believed me. The building had been dark for 6 hours. She did not live another 2. The memory is brief. I let it pass through. Minsio's hand finds my forearm and stays there for 2 seconds. Doctor, she says, do the next correct thing. I tell her, I am. She lets go. The wind picks up a notch. Snow starts. Visibility drops. The White Grave storm warning ticks down again. Less than half a cycle until whiteout. The chat scroll is starting to fill with weather chatter. Bora's panel is busy. The captured Frostfang scout is asleep against the south rail under a wool blanket, breathing steady, his face slightly less blue. Out on the ice, the second scout is running with a story. Behind him, the rest of the gang is moving toward us in the dark. I gather the deck without raising my voice. Mrs. O banks the furnace bowl as hot as the half-heat stone will allow, which is hot enough to keep the warm corner above freezing for 2 more cycles. Erin pulls the long bone spear off the rack, and the close-range one onto her hip. She sets a second spear at the western rim where she has been quietly worried about a flank approach. She sets a third spear blank, no head, just the shaft as a pry tool in case the deck needs to lift a boarder off a rim before he can stand. Hayne opens the small armory corner she has been building behind the medicine shelf. The alcohol fire jars are lined in a row. Beside them, a first batch of smoke powder rests in 2 small paper twists. She sets one twist at the south rim and one at the west. Bora rigs the fake distress signal she has been preparing for 2 days. The signal is a small light beacon mounted on a pole that can rotate without losing intensity, and the cue to fire it is one tap on her own panel. She sets the angle to point at empty ice west-northwest, where there is no raft and the wind would carry a fake distress call clean off the horizon. The beacon stays dark. Its pole stays low. Bora marks the cue on her palm with a single black stroke. Her recording of the scout's confession is still sealed in her panel with the one-tap release. Mincio organizes the warm corner. The 3 pregnant women are moved tighter against the back wall under the wind wall. 2 extra blankets go over them, one from Mrs. O's reserve and one from Jang Hyemi, who has been quietly mothering Jisoo all night. The medical kit is moved to within arm's reach of Minseo's right hand. Splints, gauze, alcohol wipes, the second jar of pregnancy salve, the cough syrup that Sora returned, the warming compress Yejin returned. Minseo lays it all in a small line on a flat strip of cloth. Nari sits opposite her, count cloth in her lap, Sora and Yejin on either side of Nari. The 3 of them are a working unit by the second pass. Before the front hits, I do one more pass through the deck. Aaron's spear lashings hold under my fingers. Haynes' alcohol oil jar is corked tight, the cork lined with wax for fast lighting. Bora's beacon pole is angled just shy of the western horizon, not enough to read as a deliberate aim, enough to read as a raft in trouble. Nari has her count cloth folded into thirds and laid across her thigh. Sora's hands are no longer shaking on the labels. Yejin's hands are still slightly shaking, but slow enough that they are working. I stop at Yejin's shoulder for one beat, and I tell her, your hands are doing exactly what hands do in this kind of work. Do not apologize for them. She does not look up. She nods once. Her hands keep working. I pass through the pregnancy corner one final time before sealing it behind the doubled wind wall. Soyeon is awake, eyes closed, hand on her belly. Yuna is awake, eyes open, watching the south rim haze through a small gap in the wall. Jisoo is awake, eyes on her own hands. All 3 look up when my shadow crosses. I tell them plainly, the next part is going to be loud, and loud is the wrong word, because most of it will be wind. If you hear a man's voice on the deck that is not mine and not Aaron's, that man is not supposed to be on this raft. Stay flat. Hand on the back wall. Mrs. O's blanket goes over your heads if I shout the word blanket. Soyeon repeats blanket back to me. Quiet. Yuna nods once. Jisoo's eyes do not move from her hands, but she says, Doctor, I hear you. I leave them inside the warm corner under the doubled wall. Mrs. O seals the inner curtain behind me. Mrs. O banks the furnace bowl one more notch. The half-heat stone glows brighter. Behind the wind wall, the pregnant corner gets a half-degree warmer. Mrs. O's hands are red, rough, and steady. She has not asked me a single question all night. She does not need to. Jang Hyemi stays at Jisoo's left elbow. Choi Sora is on count. Lim Yejin is on count. Han Gyol, the cardiology evening clerk, has volunteered for water bucket duty without being asked. The remaining background women each have a counted role. Scout watching, blanket rotation, spear handoff, water bucket. 20 women, 20 roles. The deck looks the same to a casual observer. It is not the same. The whiteout edge crosses the horizon at the half-cycle mark. Visibility starts dropping the moment it hits. Within 10 minutes, the far edge of our own raft is hard to see from the warm corner. By 20, the south rim looks like a gray haze. The wind howls a flat, low note that is not loud but is constant, which is the worst kind of howl because the howl will mask any sound a boarder makes, until he is on the deck. Bora's chat noise keeps posting mundane updates. Soup, salve, antidote tea, polite no to luxury rafts. The Whitegrave chat sees a small raft trading calmly into a storm. What Whitegrave does not see is the Frostfang flotilla closing on our southern rim under the white. A first attack wave comes through the south rim at the deepest point of the visibility drop. They came expecting frightened women and one tired doctor. They came expecting to step over the south rim onto a slow deck full of people who would freeze before they fought. The first raider clears the rim with a bone hook in one hand and a small axe in the other, gear smelling of fish oil, breath fogging white in front of him. He sees the south rim deck. The south rim deck is empty in front of him. What it does have is Aaron 5 paces back, low, with the long bone spear leveled. He has half a second to be surprised. Aaron moves. The bone scalpel spear goes through the right knee weak point at the inside of the joint, where the system flagged the gap in his Ice Walker gear. He drops with a wet sound that the wind takes immediately. Aaron pulls the spear free, steps off his arm, and is at the rim again before the next raider is finished climbing. The second raider catches the spear butt under the chin on the way up and pitches backward off the rim. Aaron's mouth moves the small fraction at the edge again. She is not smiling. She is in the place she goes when the work is exactly what the work is supposed to be. I tell her, weapon hand on the next one. She nods. The second wave hits the west rim 3 breaths later. Hain lights the first alcohol fire jar and tosses it underhand. The jar shatters at the rim. Fur lining on the first west rim raider catches. He falls back off the rim with his arm on fire. The second west rim raider catches a splash and retreats to roll out on the ice. After that, the west rim clears for the moment. Hain lights the second jar at her hip and waits. The smoke-powdered twists are still untwisted. She is saving them for the third wave. She knows what the third wave is for. Bora taps her panel. The fake distress beacon lights at the west-northwest pole and starts rotating. A small false distress signal goes out across the ice toward empty horizon. Inside 30 seconds, 2 Frostfang flanks that have been swinging around our western flank pivot toward the false signal. Bora marks the pivot on her palm. The attack splits. Both pivoting flanks are now running across open ice toward nothing, and by the time they get there, the visibility will drop again and they will be lost in white. Bora taps her panel a second time. The beacon flickers in a pattern that reads, "To a Frostfang scout," like a raft that has just sent its last call. Both flanks accelerate toward empty ice. Mencio holds the warm corner. The 3 pregnant women are flat against the back wall. Seon's hand is on her belly. Yuna is half-propped, watching the south rim, sharp eyes through the haze. Jisoo is flat under the wool blanket, one hand on Seon's ankle, the other under her own belly. Jang Hyemi is at Jisoo's left elbow, palm flat on the wood. Minso's hand is on the medical kit. None of them are panicking. The wind eats every other sound on the deck. Inside the wind wall, the warm corner is its own small island. Mrs. O stands at the wind wall edge with a wool blanket folded over her arm, watching the medicine corner. She does not move from the post. Choi Sora takes a glancing cut to her left forearm from a raider's hook that comes over the south rim and falls short of Aaron. The hook scores her sleeve and skin in a thin line. She does not scream. She does step back 2 paces, hand on the cut, eyes wide. Nari is on her before I can call across the deck. Already in her hands are the gauze, the alcohol wipe, the small clamp. I call across to her, short and clean. Gauze pressure first, alcohol wipe after pressure stops the bleed. Clamp only if the bleed is arterial. Her hand shakes for the first half second. Then her hand stops shaking. She tells Sora, sit, breathe in for 4, breathe out for 6. Sora sits, then she breathes. Nari applies the gauze. The bleed is not arterial. Under pressure, the bleed slows. Nari follows the protocol. The wound closes. She does not look up at me. Her hands are doing the work. The work is correct. Lim Yejin, on count, has not moved from the medicine shelf. Her hands are steady on the count cloth. She is reading off labels for a Nari who is no longer there, because Nari is at Sora's elbow. Yejin keeps reading the labels anyway, out loud, into the wind, because the reading anchors her hands so they do not start shaking. Han Gyel brings a fresh water bucket up from the small basin at the west wall. The bucket goes to Nari, who uses a half cup to clean the dirt off Sora's sleeve, before the gauze goes on cleaner. Gyel does not say anything. She goes back to the basin for the next bucket. The third wave comes through the south rim faster. 3 raiders this time, in a wedge. Hain lights the second alcohol fire jar and tosses it short of the rim, so it lands on the deck just inside the rim. The wedge has to step around the fire. In the middle, the lead raider hesitates. Aaron takes him through the weapon hand. The bone spear goes through the back of his right wrist at the gap in the gear. He drops the axe. He keeps moving. The 2 flanking raiders split around the fire and come at Aaron from either side. I call across the deck the first short order over the wind. Left knee, left raider. Aaron pivots and takes the left raider through the left knee at the same inside joint weak point. He drops. The right raider raises his hook over his head. That is when one of the Frost Fang raiders gets past the south rim and circles, fast, around the back of the wind wall, looking for the warm corner. He has read the deck wrong by half. He is aiming for the back of the wind wall, and he comes around the corner of the wind wall and finds the warm corner exactly where the heat tells him it is. He sees the 3 women in it. He sees Yuna closest. He grabs her wrist. I do not know which wrist he grabs because I am facing the third wave at the south rim with my hands full of orders. I do hear Jang Hyemi shout once and cut herself off. I do see peripherally a fast motion at the warm corner that is not Minseo and is not Jisoo and is the shape of a man too large for the corner. I do see Yuna's body, in that motion, twist toward him instead of away. He has read her wrong by half too. He thinks he has grabbed a frightened woman. He has grabbed a woman who has been waiting for 3 months to break the wrist of any man large enough to be a threat to her unborn child. He drags. She does not scream. Her wrist cracks under his grip. I hear it from across the deck. A clean, dry, small sound that the wind almost eats. She does not collapse. Her free hand goes up and catches his thumb at the joint. She bends his thumb backward against the joint with both her shoulders behind the motion. His grip on her wrist opens. He yells the first yell of the attack. Mrs. O moves before I do. She crosses the warm corner edge with the folded wool blanket and brings the blanket over his head from behind. Minseo's hand is already on Yuna's shoulder, pulling her clear. Jang Hyemi is between the corner and the wind wall corner with her back to the 3 women. Yuna stays upright. Her wrist is broken and she stays upright. Her face has gone very white in the cold, and her sharp eyes have gone very still. She does not collapse. She does not sit down. She holds her broken wrist with her good hand at chest height, where it is not bumped, and she steps half a pace forward instead of half a pace back. Something in the system in my head shifts. Pain lock awakens. The line writes itself across the bottom of my scan interface in the same quiet font as combat triage protocol. A mother can choose to lock her own pain down to protect the unborn life. The cost is later. Words pass. Yuna does not look at me. She looks at the raider with the blanket over his head and Mrs. O's rope going around his arms. She does not flinch. I run the scan I have been saving stamina for, on the 3rd wave wedge, with weak point scan opening at last. The cost is high. My nose runs warm again. My vision dims and sharpens. The new corner of the interface lights up inside my head, and I see, for one bright second, the bodies of the 3 raiders at the south rim in clean medical detail. Weapon hands. Left knees, tired shoulders, bad footing on the wet patch of deck where Hane's alcohol fire melted the frost. Rope lines on the gear lashings at their belts. Thin ice 50 paces back where one of them came across. The 3rd wave wedge stops being a wedge in my head and becomes a list of weak points sorted by reach. Below the interface, a line writes, "Weak point scan unlocked. The cost is stamina, sight, and shaking hands." I read it once. I call across the wind in the same short voice I used to tell Nari to apply gauze. The orders are not for me. Each is for Aaron, Haing, and the rim. Weapon hand. Aaron takes the weapon hand off the right raider with a clean strike across the back of the wrist. Left knee. Hain lights the 3rd alcohol fire jar and rolls it under the left raider's knee on the wet deck. He goes down. Thin ice, west-northwest, 50 paces hold. Bora taps her panel and the false distress beacon flickers a second pattern that sends the 2 pivoting flanks across the thin patch. 2 of them go through. The wind eats their voices. Cut the rope, south rim middle, lashings. Hain flicks her belt knife across the gear lashings of the middle raider as he tries to right himself, and his lower body armor drops to his knees, and he is encumbered and on the ground. Tired shoulder, west rim. The west rim raider's left shoulder is hanging an inch lower than his right, the way an overworked deltoid hangs when a man has been swinging a hook all night. Aaron pivots to the west rim and takes him through the shoulder at the joint cap. He drops. Rope line, south rim corner lift. Mrs. O and Jang Hyemi together pry up the rope line at the south corner, with the headless spear shaft and a Frostfang raider trying to climb the southwest joint of the rim, gets his foot caught in the line and falls back into the cold. Bad footing, west rim slick. The west rim raider Hain has been worried about misjudges the wet patch and goes down on his hip. Aaron is on him with the close-range bone spear before he can roll. The orders come out of my mouth as fast as the scan can sort them. I do not invent, I do not chant. I read and I call. Weapon hand, left knee, thin ice, bad footing, cut the rope, tired shoulder, rope line. The women on the deck do not need to know the why. Each one only needs to know the where and the what. Aaron is the long edge of the orders. Hain is the burning edge. Bora is the seeing edge, with the false distress and the chat noise and the recording sealed in her panel. Minseo and Mrs. O and Jang Hyemi are the holding edge at the warm corner. Nari is the medical edge at Sora's elbow. The deck moves the way a deck moves when 20 women have been waiting a long time for a man with a hook to come over the rim. A final Frost Fang push collapses inside 3 more minutes. 2 raiders dead at the south rim, 1 from Aaron's knee strike, and 1 from the rope line that brought him down into the cold under the ice. 4 raiders captured alive on the deck, 3 at the south rim and 1 in the warm corner who is wrapped in Mrs. O's wool blanket with rope around his arms. The rest of the Frost Fang flotilla retreats into the whiteout, dragging 2 of the burned and 1 of the wounded. Those two flanks Boris sent across the thin ice never come back. Wind eats whatever last sounds they make. Group 27 has no dead. Yuna's wrist is broken and stable. Choi Sora's forearm is closed under gauze. The 3 pregnant women are all breathing slow and warm at the back of the warm corner. Each of the 10 background women is upright. Our medicine shelf is intact. Inside the bowl, the furnace is hot. A wind wall has tilted half an inch and settled. The whiteout is at its thickest and starting to thin. Wind has dropped 1 notch. The storm front has passed over us, and we have come out the other side. Around us, the deck is wet with melting blood. It is also still ours. I let myself sit, for the first time in 2 cycles, on the edge of the storage box. My hands are shaking. My nose is bleeding more than I want to admit. The weak point scan corner of the interface has closed itself for me without me asking. Because the system has noticed I am at the bottom of the stamina line, my world dims for a second and then comes back. Minseo is at my left shoulder with a folded cloth in her hand. She does not say anything. She takes my wrist and turns my hand palm up and lays the cloth across the back of my knuckles. Sit, she says, the way she said it before. I sit. She does not move her hand for a long count. Then she goes to Yuna. Yuna has not sat down. Still standing at the warm corner, she holds her broken wrist at chest height and her sharp eyes on the south rim, in case the rim sends another raider. Minso tells her, sit. Yuna sits. Minseo splints the wrist with the small splints from the medical kit. She splints with both hands, one to hold the bone in alignment, the other to wrap the cloth strips. Yuna does not flinch. The wrist is bad. A break is clean. Minseo's hands are good. The splint is correct. Yuna's sharp eyes are on Minseo's hands the whole time, watching the work the way a woman who knows how to break a wrist watches a woman who knows how to set one. The captured raiders are on the south rim under wool blankets, restrained with rope, the same way the first scout is on the south corner. Mrs. O is rationing the soup pot. The 4 new captures get a half cup each, the same conditional terms as the first scout. Bora is recording the second confession now, from the largest of the 4, who is talking faster than the scout did, because his hands are shaking from the cold, and the soup is cooling in front of him. He confirms the scout's story word for word. Captain Ryu Dohan, 2 heat stones. Coordinates sold. Ren's Holloway took the payment. The Frostfang gang came under the whiteout expecting a soft target. I tell Bora, post both audio files in chat, with the second one labeled as confirmation of the first. Now, she is already typing. The audio files go public under the Group 27 handle inside 30 seconds. Whitegrave Chat sees them at the same moment. The chat scroll, which has been busy with weather chatter and small trades, freezes. For the 3rd time tonight, the chat scroll stops. The first stop was at the audio. The audio plays. Captain Ryu Dohan. 2 heat stones. Sold the coordinates of Group 27 to Ren's Holloway of the Frostfang gang. 2 voices, separate captures, same name, same payment terms. The chat moves again, slowly, after the second audio finishes. A first comment under the audio is from a mid-sized raft handle I do not recognize. It reads, did Captain Ryu Dohan sell a clinic raft with 3 pregnant women to a raider gang for 2 heat stones? Under that, from a small raft I helped today, reads, yes. After it, the silent watcher icon from Dr. Victor Hale. Then a sharp barb from Beverly Pierce that gets 2 approvals and falls off the scroll. Ryu's reputation falls in the chat the way a heat core falls when its mounting fails, fast with a long trail and a smell of something burning that does not stop. Small rafts post angry comments. Mid-sized rafts post the silent watcher. 2 luxury rafts that have been Daniel Cross's allies post nothing at all, which is worse for Ryu than the angry posts, because silence from luxury rafts is the sound of a man being filed away as not useful anymore. Daniel Cross does not post. Beverly Pierce does not post for a long time. Captain Ryu Dohan posts nothing. His public chat presence goes quiet for the rest of the cycle. He DMs me 1 line in private. Dr. 27, you think you have won. The line sits in my private DM panel without context. I read it, I do not reply. I file it, I close the panel. Bora has already screen captured the DM in case Ryu later denies sending it. The capture goes into Bora's panel with the audio files. Ryu has stopped being a public threat to Group 27 for at least the next cycle, because the chat has done the work for me. As a private threats have to be met later. Tonight is not later. The deck is quiet now. Outside, the wind has dropped 2 notches. A whiteout has thinned by half. Visibility is back to about 10 paces. The Frostfang flotilla is gone. Captured raiders are restrained, rationed, and going to be dropped on a neutral raft after the storm fully passes. Then the system writes a line across the inside of my head in the same quiet font as Combat Triage Protocol and Weak Point Scan. Raft upgrades available. The list under the line reads, Clinic Cabin, Insulated Wall, Clean Water Basin, Private Pregnancy Room, Small Armory, Training Corner. I read the list twice. I let the upgrades roll out at their own pace. The captured raiders sit on the south rim under wool blankets. Mrs. O's hand on the soup pot deciding who gets a second half cup and who does not. 2 of the 4 are bleeding lightly from joint hits. Nari, finished with Sora's forearm, comes over with the gauze roll and treats both bleeds without comment. Neither raider speaks while she works. One of them watches her hands the way men watch unfamiliar things they did not expect to find on a deck they were supposed to be looting. Which is to say, with confusion that is slowly turning into something else. Nari finishes the gauze. She steps back. Mrs. O hands the worst bleeding raider a half cup of soup. He drinks it slow. He does not thank her out loud, but his hand shakes a little less when he hands the cup back. Mrs. O takes it without comment. Aaron posts at the south rim with the long-bone spear, watching the captured four, watching the south horizon for any sign of a Frostfang reorganization. Her face has not moved since the final raider went down. I cross to her shoulder and stand at her left elbow for one count. She tells me, "Doctor," without looking at me, "you called the orders cleanly." I tell her, "You called the kills cleanly." She tells me, "My arm is sore." I tell her, "Sit down within the next 10 minutes and let Minso look at your shoulder." She tells me, "After the rim is clear." I tell her, "After the rim is clear," and not after. She nods. Her free hand flexes once at her side and then settles back on the spear. I leave her to the rim and go find Minso. Mincio has finished splinting Yuna's wrist inside the cabin and is now at the warm corner curtain, checking Soyeon's pulse for the 4th time tonight. Soyeon is asleep at last, both hands on her belly. Mincio's hand goes flat against Soyeon's wrist, holds there for a long beat, and comes away. "Steady," she tells me. I tell her, "Good." She turns her attention to Jisoo, who is sitting up against the back wall with the 4 baby blankets folded across her lap. Jisoo's eyes are red but dry. Mincio does not say anything. She just sits next to Jisoo for one count and lets her shoulder lean. Jisoo leans back. Neither of them speaks. After about a minute, Mincio gets up and crosses to me at the cabin doorway. Her hand brushes my elbow as she goes by. She tells me, "Quiet, the warm corner will hold through the night." I tell her, "Thank you." She nods. The clinic cabin builds itself at the western quarter of the deck, where the medicine shelf has been. Walls go up in slow segments, plain wood, insulated, low-ceilinged, with a small door that latches. Then the medicine shelf moves inside the cabin. Beside it, the medical kit moves to a shelf. Inside, the cabin is large enough for 1 doctor, 1 nurse, and a single patient bed, wood-framed and plain. Above it, the system has provided a thin mattress. Mincio, when the bed forms, stops splinting Yuna's wrist for one breath and stares at the bed. Then she goes back to splinting. The cabin will not be empty for long. An insulated wall builds along the southern third of the wind wall, doubling the thickness of the wall in the section that the warm corner sits behind. Inside, our warm corner gets 4 degrees warmer within 10 minutes. Seyeon, who has been awake for the last hour, lets out a slow breath. Jisoo's hand finally comes off her belly and goes flat on the deck beside her. Yuna's sharp eyes close once, slowly, then open again, watching Mincio finish the splint. Jang Hyemi tucks the wool blanket tighter under Jisoo's shoulder and stays at her elbow. The clean water basin builds at the west rim where the small basin used to be. Its volume doubles in size. Now it filters its own water. Through a small charcoal and cloth filter the system is fabricated from the broken sled engine in the Frostfang loot. Han Gyul, on water bucket duty, looks at the new basin for a long time and then starts moving the water buckets to the new basin without comment. Mrs. O nods at her once. Gyul nods back. The waterwork continues. A private pregnancy room builds in the corner where the warm corner has been. Inside it is small, low-ceilinged, insulated, with a curtain instead of a door. 3 thin mattresses fit inside. The curtain is rough cloth, sewn from the salvage Mrs. O has been hoarding for 2 days. Seoyeon, Yuna, and Jisoo are moved inside, one at a time. She walks. Then Yuna walks, broken wrists splinted, sharp eyes on the floor. Jisoo is helped in by Jang Hyemi, slow steps. The curtain closes behind them. Inside, the room is warm, dim, quiet. Outside, the wind has dropped to a whisper. The small armory builds behind the medicine cabin, on a wall opposite the bone spear rack. Inside it holds spears, alcohol fire jars, smoke powder twists, a small store of metal blades from the Frostfang loot. Aaron and Hain take inventory together inside the first half hour. A training corner builds along the north flat of the deck. Flat boards, a sturdy post for spear practice, a small target board, 2 strap loops for grip strength work. Erin's face does not move when she sees it, but her shoulders drop half a notch. The system writes one more line, in a different font, a line I have not seen before. It reads, Combat Efficiency Ranking Active, Group 27 Regional Position, Middle Tier. I read it twice. Now the system is publicly tracking low casualty victories alongside the Brute Combat rank. The chat is going to see the ranking in the next refresh. Refresh comes 30 seconds later. Group 27 appears in the middle of the combat efficiency board, alongside Rafts twice and 3 times our size. Beverly Pierce's barbs from earlier tonight have already fallen off the scroll. Daniel Cross has not posted in over a cycle. Bora's mouth moves the small flat thing. Doctor, she says, half the mocking just went silent. I tell her the other half pivoted to curiosity. She nods. 2 private DMs have already come in from mid-sized rafts asking about Group 27's training methods. Bora marks them for later. Dr. Victor Hale sends a second private DM, 2 lines this time. Line 1, you are going to start scaring people, Doctor. Second, be ready. I read it. I do not reply. I file Hail under Polite Watcher Watching, which is a different file from Polite Watcher Watching. Hail is doing the thing dangerous polite people do, which is offer one piece of useful intelligence to see if you will trade for the next one. I will not trade yet. The cabin door latches behind Minseo as she steps inside with the medical kit. Yuna is on the bed. Seon and Jisoo are in the pregnancy room with the curtain closed. Minseo lays the splinted wrist across a small folded blanket and props it slightly above heart level. She tells Yuna, sleep if you can. Yuna does not close her eyes. Instead, she says, Doctor. Minseo turns to call me. I am already at the cabin doorway. Yuna looks at me. Doctor, she says in the same small voice she used earlier tonight. I am working for you now. The sentence is plain. She does not elaborate. She does not soften it. I tell her, thank you. I do not say anything else. I do not need to. The look in her eyes is the same look I saw outside the clinic cabin 3 hours ago, when she said she respected a man who explained the numbers. Now it has shifted one further degree. Wary is still there, so is watchful. Her ready to leave is gone. She is on this raft because she has chosen to be, and the choice is weight, and the weight has been laid at my feet, and I am the doctor she has chosen, and not a doctor she is being forced to tolerate. I leave the cabin. The latch closes behind me. I cross to the private pregnancy room. The curtain is closed. I do not open it. I tell the wood beside the curtain, Soyeon, Jisoo, you have a curtain. You have a wall. You have warmth. You have a doctor on the other side of this curtain. Sleep. Soyeon's voice from inside says, thank you, doctor. The voice is soft and clear. Jisoo's voice from inside says nothing for a long beat. Then she says, doctor. I tell her, yes. She says the raider in the warm corner, the one who grabbed Yuna. He saw me. He saw all three of us. He saw the babies. I tell her, he is restrained. He is rationed. He will be dropped on a neutral raft after the storm fully passes. He will not see you again. She says thank you. I leave the curtain and step back onto the open deck. Loot from the Frostfang captures has been laid out by Aaron on a flat strip of cloth near the small armory. Food blocks, hard, dense, and still wrapped, 6 total. Heat cloth, 3 squares, each the size of a folded shirt, enough to make a real heat patch for someone's chest. Metal blades, 4, each shorter than a forearm, useful for everything from gutting fish to cutting rope. Ice hooks, 2, the small kind that lock into ice with a quick wrist motion. Baby blankets, 4, folded small, fur-lined plain colors. All clean. The blankets are stolen, plainly. Frostfang did not buy baby blankets. They took them. I do not ask from where. Jisoo, somehow, has come out of the pregnancy room. The curtain swung quietly. She stops at the loot strip and crouches over the baby blankets. Her hand goes out and touches the top blanket. The fur is soft. She picks it up. She holds it against her chest with both hands. She does not cry. She does not say anything for a long time. Jang Haimi comes up beside her without a word and crouches next to her and lays a hand on her shoulder. Jisoo turns her face into Jang Haimi's shoulder for 1 count and then turns it back out. She says very quiet, Doctor. I crouch down beside her at the loot strip. She says, this one. Can this one be ours? I tell her, yes. She says all of them. I tell her, yes, all 4. She holds the blanket tighter. She does not say anything else. She goes back into the pregnancy room with the 4 blankets folded across her arms. The curtain swings closed behind her. I hear, very faint through the curtain, Soyeon's voice saying her name. Soft. I hear Yuna's voice from the cabin saying the same name, sharper but not unkind. The 3 of them are settling. Minso comes out of the cabin and finds me at the loot strip. She tells me, Doctor, sit. I sit. She brings the folded cloth back to my hand. She has put a small dose of warming salve on the cloth this time. The salve has a small smell. She lays the cloth over my knuckles. My hand stops shaking after about a minute. Minseo does not move from where she is sitting on the deck beside the storage box. She leans her shoulder against mine for 1 count. Then she leans back. She does not say anything. I do not either. There is no romance language in the lean. Only the simple physical fact that she has been on her feet for 14 hours, and so have I. And the shoulder lean costs nothing, and the leaning back costs nothing. Mrs. O sets a small cup of soup in front of each of us without being asked. The soup is hot. I drink half and hand the rest to Nari, who has finally sat down beside the medicine cabin doorway. Nari drinks it without ceremony. Her count cloth is folded under her arm. The count for the cycle is correct. A trade market panel pings under our handle 3 times in quick succession. 3 more small rafts requesting emergency medical contact in the next cycle. 2 for frostbite. 1 for what sounds like a possible miscarriage on a raft I've never heard of. Bora reads the requests out loud, quietly. Frostbite, 1 and 2, standard salve trade, tied rope drop, fine, miscarriage, raft handle Hyungmi, 3, position approximately 30 paces north-northwest. I tell Bora, route the miscarriage call to me directly. No trade, free consultation. Send Hain with the salve. Bora marks it. The salve goes out within 10 minutes by tied rope drop. Routing for the miscarriage consultation goes through a private chat panel with the unknown Raft. I will handle it inside the cabin. Mincio is already standing. She nods at me once. She goes inside the cabin to prepare the second mattress. Bora reads the requests off her panel one more time and adds, "Doctor, 2 of the small rafts asking are rafts that boosted our raft law post earlier tonight. Both are paying attention. Each is asking small, polite, no luxury demands. I tell her mark them as repeat polite contacts. She nods. Her color wheel on her palm has 3 small new strokes by the time she finishes marking. A polite trade economy is forming on our handle, slow but real. And the slow, real kind is the kind that matters in a storm." Mrs. O comes out from inside the warm corner curtain with a wool blanket folded over her arm and a small kettle in her other hand. She sets the kettle on the furnace bowl rim, where the half-heat stone glow can keep it warm. She tells me, "Doctor, the second pot is going to run low by morning unless we land a fish haul tomorrow." I tell her. Bora is already scoping the southern thin patch where Soyeon felt the school earlier, and Aaron is going to lead a small daylight hook party once the visibility comes back. Mrs. O nods. She tells me, "Doctor, you have not eaten since the soup cup 3 hours ago." I tell her, "I will, after Voss." She tells me, "No, doctor, before Voss." She puts a small bowl of broth in my hand. I drink it. She watches me drink it the whole way down. Then she takes the bowl back and goes to bank the furnace bowl one final notch. Lena Frost DMs me at the same moment, polite, careful. Dr. 27. I have a white grave drift map, complete, with current flows, neutral raft positions, and Frost Fang last known territory marked. The map costs 4 food blocks or 1 heat cloth square. Tied rope drop accepted. Her offer is plain. What she has is exactly what I need for the cycle after the storm. Her price is reasonable. Lena is also the woman who, the chat tells me, leaks things to test buyers. I read the DM twice. I do not respond yet. I file her under polite broker with leak history. Bora marks her on the palm with a slow line. That is when the new chat panel opens. A handle is one I have not seen tonight. Its name is Dr. Malcolm Voss. His handle posts public, top of the White Grave regional chat scroll, with a small pin icon that means a verified raft is asking for chat attention. The post is long but compressed in my eyes through the system, because the interface reads chat threads for me in summary form when the threads get long. A summary through my eyes runs like this. Voss introduces himself as the senior doctor of the White Hospital Raft, regional medical contribution rank top 3. After that, he congratulates Group 27 on the survival of the Frost Fang raid. Then he says he has been watching Jiwoo's medical contribution rise on the public board. Finally, he demands access to my treatment data. The compression continues in my head. He demands proof that resources are not being spent on what his own charts call low survival passengers. Then he implies that a doctor treating 3 pregnant women on a cracked raft during the cold weather isekai phase of Whitegrave is hoarding people, not saving them. After that, he attaches a chart from his own raft. The chart compares the survival rates of pregnant patients in cold weather isekai conditions against the survival rates of combat-fit recruits. Its math is weighted. It is damning if you do not know how to read it. Most of the chat will read it without knowing how. I read the post twice. The chat reaction is immediate, even through the compression. Beverly Pierce reappears in the chat for the first time in over a cycle, and posts a small heart icon under Voss's chart. Daniel Cross likes Voss's chart with a small approval mark, the first public action Daniel has taken since Minsio's refusal. 3 luxury rafts that have been silent post the Silent Watcher icon under the chart. But the Silent Watcher under Voss's chart is a different kind of Silent Watcher from the one under Minsio's raft law post. Because this watcher is paying attention to a chart that calls my patients low survival. And the attention is the kind that fixes a label. Then a new icon appears in the chat panel, small, gold-edged, half-closed. The icon is a single eye, partly closed, posted under Voss's chart with no comment. Attached to the eye, the handle reads, St. Elian's Holy Cradle Fleet. St. Elian has not posted in Whitegrave chat tonight at any point that I have seen. The eye icon is the first action. It does not say anything. Just a silent watcher with a different meaning from the others. Its meaning is that St. Elian has now noticed Group 27, and St. Elian is looking. Bora's mouth, which has been doing the small flat thing all night, goes flat in a different way. She marks the eye icon with a long dark stroke on her palm. Voss's chart is pinned to the top of the regional chat scroll. Beverly Pierce pins it from her end too, with a small comment underneath that reads, The burden raft will surely have a clean answer to a fair chart. Daniel Cross's like sits next to her pin. St. Elian's eye icon dims very slowly, from half closed to almost closed, and stops just shy of fully shut. The eye icon is now a thing the chat scrolls past 3 times a cycle. Whitegrave is waiting for Group 27's response. I do not respond. Not yet. I look at Yuna's splinted wrist through the open cabin doorway, where she is sleeping at last, with the splint propped above heart level. I look at the closed curtain of the pregnancy room, where the 4 stolen baby blankets are folded around 3 pregnant women. I look at Mincio, who has finished setting up the second mattress and is asleep against the wind wall of the cabin doorway with her head tipped to one side. I look at the 4 food blocks, 3 heat cloth squares, 4 metal blades, 2 ice hooks, and 4 baby blankets on the loot strip. I look at the medicine shelf, the bone spear rack, the small armory, the training corner. I look at the deck. My sister, a long time ago, was a patient in a hospital ward where the senior doctor had a chart on the wall behind his desk. The chart had columns and rows, and at the top of one column was a phrase I did not know yet. 2 words read, deprioritized by triage. My sister's name, very small, was in that column. The senior doctor was the kind of polite man who explains his chart calmly to a younger doctor who has just realized whose name is in which column. He explained it then. He sounded reasonable. The hospital lost power 6 hours later. My sister did not see the next morning. The chart stayed on the wall. My memory stays brief. I let it pass through. I open the system in my head and find the chat reply panel. The cursor blinks under Voss's pinned chart. Beverly Pierce's amplification is already 3 posts deep. Daniel Cross's like is sitting beside Voss's chart like a small medal. St. Elian's eye icon is dimming and not closing. Minso is asleep. Yuna is asleep. Soyeon is in the pregnancy room with her hand on Jisoo's ankle. Jisoo has the baby blankets folded against her chest. The snow keeps falling lighter now, but steady, and the white outside the wind wall is the kind of white that does not let go of a region for a long time. Bora reads the chart over my shoulder for a long count without speaking. Then she tells me quietly, "Doctor, the chart's columns are wrong on 3 counts. Pregnant patient survival is not a fixed number. It depends on warmth, food, medicine, fair law, and trust, all of which his chart removes from the math. Combat fit recruit survival on his chart counts only first week numbers, which is when recruits look strongest and pregnant patients look weakest, and his chart cuts the window there on purpose. Civilization score is not on his chart at all, even though the system has been tracking it since the wake-up cycle and the chat has been able to read it for the last 12 hours. I tell her, all 3 are correct. Write them down. We will use them when we reply. She is already writing. Haynes steps up to my right shoulder with a count cloth from the medicine cabin. She tells me, "Doctor, the survival math on his chart compares pregnant patients to recruits on a single axis, which is body fit strength. The actual axis for a clinic raft is whether the women on it survive the next 3 storms with their babies intact, which is a different math, and that math is going to favor our raft over his, within 2 cycles if our furnace bowl holds." I tell her, "You write that one down too." She is already writing into her own small notebook with the same blunt pencil Mincio used for the raft law. Nari, from the medicine cabin doorway, has been quiet. She comes over with the count cloth folded under her arm. "Doctor," she says, "the chart is the same chart the senior doctor in my training hospital used to teach us triage. The same columns. Identical weighting. He used to say every column is a choice about whose life counts. He used to say, never look at the column without asking who built it." I look at her for a long beat. I tell her, "Write that down too." She nods. She is already writing. Yuna calls from the cabin, softly, through the open doorway. "Doctor." I cross to her. She is awake, the splinted wrist propped, sharp eyes on me. She tells me, very plainly, the chart he posted is the chart the man who hurt me used to defend himself in court. The same kind of chart, the same kind of columns, the same kind of weighting. He had a doctor who wrote charts for him. The doctor used the phrase low survival 3 times in the deposition. Tell the doctor on the chat that the women on charts like that have names. She does not say anything else. Her sharp eyes do not flinch. I tell her I will. I leave the cabin doorway with her sentence in my pocket. My hand is poised over the chat panel. The reply field is open. A cursor blinks. Beside it, the chart glows. Next to the chart, Daniel Cross's avatar. Past Daniel Cross's avatar, St. Elian's half-closed eye. The whole of Whitegrave chat has stopped moving for the 4th time tonight, waiting on Group 27's reply to a chart that has a column at the top labeled Low Survival, with the names of 3 pregnant women, already, somewhere, in that column. My hand hovers over the keyboard. I have not pressed a single key. My hand hovers over the keyboard for one more breath, and then I begin to type. Not fast, and not emotional. The reply field opens under Voss's pinned chart, with the cursor blinking at me like a small invitation to lose my temper, and I refuse the invitation. I write a single line at the top of the reply. "Dr. Voss, Raft Group 27 thanks you for the public review." Then I drop 1 space and begin to post our numbers. Plain, unweighted, easy for any cold, tired person reading by furnace light to follow without help. Below that line, I post our actual survival outcomes for the last 2 cycles. 0 casualties across 2 combat events, 1 Frost Shark provocation, and 1 Frost Fang raid, both attended by Group 27 personnel. Food yield from the Southern Fish School, expressed in standard food blocks per cycle, listed plain. Treatment counts for the cycle, broken into frostbite, lacerations, concussion observation, and prenatal observation, listed plain. Raft law compliance numbers, theft incidents 0, panic incidents 3, resolved without punishment, food counts and medicine counts verified twice in front of 2 witnesses every cycle. I post the numbers without a single adjective. The system reads my reply for me from the inside out, line by line, while I keep typing. Bora reads over my left shoulder for a long count. She tells me, Doctor, the chart he posted compares fixed columns to fixed columns, and we are posting outcomes against outcomes. That is the right shape. She marks her palm. Hayne reads over my right shoulder and tells me, Doctor, hold the next paragraph for the axis. Mention only the 3-storm window. Anything else gets attacked. I nod. Nari, from the medicine cabin doorway, reads from a small distance and tells me, Doctor, end the post with the chart builder line. People will repeat it. I write the chart builder line at the bottom. Every column on a chart is a choice about whose life counts. Never look at the column without asking who built it. The post lands. Now the chat does the thing it does when a reply is unexpected. A pause first, a small string of silent watcher icons, then the first real reactions. 3 small rafts I do not recognize, like the post immediately. Tom Reed's polite trader handle posts a single line under it that reads, Our raft can vouch for the salve drop in the count. Park Family Raft posts a short thank you under the salve they received last cycle. Dr. Victor Hale stays silent in public, but his private DM to me, a fresh line, lands in my panel. Plain numbers were the right call. Hold that voice. He does not say anything else. Beverly Pierce surfaces under the post with a long comment in pretty fonts. Charming reply, she writes, but anyone with a calculator can see those numbers are doctored. The small raft count is suspiciously round, the casualty number is suspiciously 0, and a clinic raft on a cracked deck claiming a fish block yield like that has either lied about the yield or hidden the fact that they are rating small rafts to inflate it. Daniel Cross likes Beverly's comment with the same small medal-like approval mark he gave Voss. Then Daniel Cross posts a short laugh in chat for the first time in 2 cycles. 3 small letters. The laugh sits beside the chart. St. Elian's half-closed eye does not move. I do not answer Beverly. The thing about a Beverly Pierce comment in Whitegrave chat, on a night when a real chart is on the table, is that answering Beverly is what Beverly wants. She lives in the reply field. She does not live in the outcomes. I let her comment scroll. Bora marks her palm slowly. The small rafts that liked our reply are still liking. Dr. Victor Hale's silent watcher icon, the polite one, is still on. Beverly's comment loses 2 likes from rafts I have seen before in Daniel Cross's amplifier line, who quietly back away when no one fights them. The chat is doing its slow title thing. That is when the public alert scrolls across the top of the panel in a new color. Whitegrave's storm warning system has upgraded its alert from snow squall to plague alert. The phrase reads, Dirty snow moss plague, observed in 4 small rafts within a southern arc, spreading. Symptoms, in the simple wording that Whitegrave chat uses so nobody from any region misunderstands. Fever, hard breathing, weak pulse, wounds that turn bad and do not heal. The alert ends with a single line. Treatment is unknown. The storm warning panel pins the alert at the same height as Voss's chart. Now there are 2 pinned posts at the top of the regional chat. The chat reacts inside half a count. Rafts that were arguing about the chart begin private messaging each other in chains my chat panel only sees as side flashes. 2 small rafts that liked my plain numbers post a moment ago go silent in the open chat and ping me direct. One has a fever case. The other is asking if anyone has seen a plague case before. Dr. Victor Hale's polite silent watcher icon stays on, but he stops pinging me. St. Elian's half-closed eye stays where it is, watching the alert and the chart together. Beverly Pierce, after a count, posts a second line, calm and pretty. Now is the time for cool heads and senior medical leadership. Voss reacts with an account of Beverly's line. His handle posts a new public statement immediately under the plague alert. He pins his own clean text triage chart again, the one with the column headers for combat fit. Food contributor, builder, fighter, doctor, nurse. Low survival. Below the pinned chart, he posts a public policy. White Hospital Raft will treat plague cases only on receipt of paid value. The accepted forms of payment are listed in calm font. Food blocks. Workers willing to transfer to White Hospital Raft service. Sealed medicine. Territory rights to drift lanes. The post ends with 1 line. Sentiment is not a strategy. Beverly Pierce pins the policy under her own handle. Daniel Cross likes it without comment. I read the policy twice. Then I close the reply panel and turn to the deck. Bora is already at my shoulder. She tells me, Doctor, the 4 small rafts in the southern arc are not going to make it through a plague cycle on a triage chart. The 4 are between 40 and 70 paces from us. Drift trajectory plotted. 3 are people we have heard from polite tonight. I tell her mark them all. Mark their handles. Route every private ping from them straight to me. She marks them. Bora's color wheel grows a small cluster of strokes that have a new color she has not used before. I do not ask what the color means. She will tell me when she is ready. Hayne has already moved to the medicine shelf and is sorting. She tells me, Doctor, we have a 1/4 jar of frostbite salve, 3/4 of the warning salve, a 1/4 jar of the smoke powder, and the alcohol wipe reserve is 2/3. The antidote question is going to come down to whether we can find the source. I tell her, the source is the dirty snow moss. The plague is named after the moss for a reason.